We can get started right at 11, Minister Musa.
Uh, Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Deputy Consul General Dr. Saraya Rihum Musa Pretabulu Bay of the Maryland Consulate, rising giving praise to the Almighty God Allah, His Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish American Government, Act 1, the Maryland Consulate, all of the consulates of the government, all my Moorish American kin, everything that is Moorish, I say Islam. I will read the Moorish American prayer. SubhanAllah. O Allah, the Father of the universe, O Allah, the Father of love, O Allah, the Spirit of truth, O Allah, the Spirit of peace, O Allah, the Spirit of freedom, O Allah, the Spirit of justice. O Allah, you are my guide. O Allah, you are my salvation. SubhanAllah. O Allah, you are my protection. O Allah, you are my guide. O Allah, you are my salvation, by night and by day. O Allah, through his holy prophet, O Allah, Drew Ali. Ameen. Holy Issa, Holy Issa, Holy Issa.
Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Terrell Freeman L., Divine Minister of the Maryland Consulate. First, I rise and give highest praise to the great God, Allah, Father of the universe. Highest honors to his prophet, our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Highest Sharif Abdul Ali. Give high honors to our Moorish American theocratic government. High honors to Act 1. High honors to our officials and citizens here with us today. High honors to all consulates, and high honors to Maryland Consulate for hosting this a special class. High honors to everything that is Moorish, Islam. Salvation, our God, unity. The Divine Constitution of Moorish America. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The Bylaws, Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folk, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. Islam, Islam, Islam.
Islam. My name is Dr. Bati Bey with the Iowa Territory. First, I'd like to rise and give our man of praise to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, our World Council, our divine constitution, our laws, our Moorish citizens here, there, and everywhere. I'd like to say honors to the Maryland Council for this class. Now we'll be reading chapter 66, Holy Instructions from the Prophet Misery. Feeble and insufficient as thou art, O man, in good, frail and inconstant as thou art in pleasure, yet there is a thing in which thou art strong and unshaken. Its name is misery. It is the character of thy being, the prerogative of thy nature. In thy breast alone it resideth. Without thee there is nothing of it. And behold, what is it? What is its source? But thy own passions. He who gave thee these gave thee also reason to subdue them, exert it, and thou shalt trample them under thy feet. Thine entrance into the world, is it not shameful? Thy destruction, is it not glorious? Lo, men adorn the instruments of death with gold and gems, and wear them above their garments. He who begetteth a man hideth his face, but he who killeth thousands is honor. Know thou notwithstanding that in this is error. Custom cannot alter the nature of truth, neither can the opinion of man destroy justice. The glory of the shame are misplaced. There is but one way for man to be produced. There are 1,000 by which he may be destroyed. There is no praise or honor to him who giveth being to another, but triumphs and empires are the rewards of murder. Yet he who hath many children hath as many blessings, and he who hath taken away the life of another shall not enjoy his own. While the savage curses the birth of his son, and blessed the death of his father, doeth he not call himself a monster? The greatest of all human ills is sorrow. Too much of this thou art born unto. Add not unto it by thy own perverseness. Grief is natural to thee, and is always about thee. Pleasure is a stranger, and visiteth thee by times. Use well thy reason, and sorrow shall be cast behind thee. Be prudent, and the visits of joy shall remain long with thee. Every part of thy frame is capable of sorrow, but few and narrow are the paths that lead to delight. Pleasures can be omitted only simply, but pains rush in 1,000 at a time. As the blaze of straw fadeth as soon as it is kindled, so passeth away the brightness of joy, and thou knowest not what became of it. Sorrow is frequent, pleasure is rare, pain cometh of itself. Delight must be purchased, grief is unmixed, but joy wanteth not its alloy of bitterness. As the sound that healeth is less perceived than the lightest malady, so the highest joy toucheth us less deep than the smallest sorrow. We are in love with anguish. We often fly from pleasure when we purchase it. Cast it not more than it is worth. Reflection is the business of man. A sense of his state is his first duty. But who remembereth himself a boy? Is it not in mercy then that sorrow is allotted unto us? Man foreseeth the evil that is to come. He remembereth it when it passes. He consider not that the thought of affliction wounded deeper than the affliction itself. Think not of thy pain, but when it is upon thee, and thou shalt avoid what most hurts thee. He who weepeth before he weepeth, weepeth more than he needed. And why? But that he loved weepeth. The stag weepeth not till the spear is lifted against him, nor do the tears of the beaver fall till the hound is ready to seize him. Man anticipate death by the apprehension of it, and the fear is greater misery than the event itself. Be always prepared to give an account of thine actions, and the best death is that which is least premeditated. Peace and love. Islam.
Islam. First, I want to rise and praise Almighty God, Allah. I want to give honor to our holy prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honor to our Moorish American theocratic government. I want to give honor to our divine constitution of Moorish America. I want to give honor to Act 1 of said constitution. I want to give honor to the Royal Council. I want to give honor to all officials of Moorish America, giving honor to all citizens of Moorish America, giving honor to all of our children, our babies of Moorish America, giving honors where honors are due, giving honors to each and every one of you, giving a special honor to the Moors who opened our class according to law, giving honor to today's Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class, giving honor to all the Moors that have joined us in attendance. I am Sheikh Ashby Bey, Vice Consul General of the Maryland Consulate. Once again, giving honors to all the Moors. Good to see y'all. And at this time, we're going to turn our class over to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shabazz Al. Islam.
Islam, can you hear me, Grand Man?
Islam, oh man, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. But let us rise first on the 7 and give all praises to the great God Allah, our Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are a living manifestation and personification of everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. Islam, Moorish kin, we want to welcome you once again to another Moorish research sultanate, Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate. And we give honors to our Moorish kin for all of their participation and everything that our Moorish kin is doing along the way as we are recording our own history and we are bringing forth the consciousness to our people according to the research that we bring forth. I want to give honors to the Baltimore Consulate for the platform, honors to Act 1, you know, first and foremost, our chairman for the Book of Fire. If we pay attention and we notice when we open up these particular classes, we always open up with the Book of Fire. And the reason we do so is because we call it a study guide. And it is a study guide because it's leading on, you know, in the way, you know, from that special perspective, so to speak. And so being that we have this guide on the manifest, then we know that we would not be misguided in regards to dealing with our history, you know, and the history is no longer a mystery from that aspect. Our questions that we have on the floor for today are actually dealing with the last 4 of the questionnaire. And if you notice, we're not doing them in a particular order of just going from one all the way through. We're actually dealing with it as the events, you know, unfold in certain aspects of life, so to speak. But in this special measure, we're dealing with the last four, which is what is the Elohim sometimes called? And the answer is the 7 eyes of Allah. And then you have how many days are in the circle? 7 days. How many days are in the creation? 7 days. According to science, how many days are in a year? 7 days. And this is going to be a grand measure, Moorish kin. So we encourage our Moorish family to be on the manifest and most definitely bring forth, we'll say, your pre-research when we open up the floor. And we're going to come from page, well, we can get some more that will actually volunteer to read, if you will. We want to come from pages 375 to 378 in the Book of Fire, the Exhuming of a Nation. And our reader, we ask Islam, Brother Muhammad Bey, we will have you read from 375 over until you get to 378 above Moors in prostration, yes/no.
Okay. Islam gratitude, trying to find the page.
Or better yet, so it's not burdensome to you, we'll let you read the 376 to the area where you deal with the 7 degrees of self-mastery divine ministry. And then we'll let another more aid at 377 and read the rest of it. Islam, Brother Bati Bey. Brother Bati Bey will pick up on the number 9 in the goddess, and he'll take it on over to the next page, 378. Islam.
Okay, Islam, let me get clarity, brother, National Sister Grand Sheik. I'm starting on page 375.
That's right.
And going to 376 up to the 7th degrees. I stopped there at the last line where it says Abdul Ali.
Where it states time, space,
Correct.
and calculation. Yeah, where it says time, space, and calculation, that's where you stop at the bottom of 376.
Oh yeah, okay. And yeah, time, space, and calculations.
Yeah, that's where you're gonna stop at it, brother
Bati.
Right, Islam. Bati Bey will pick up from here. Islam.
Okay, Islam, Moorish America. Islam, I am Dr. Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey, Consul General of the South Carolina Consular Post Consulate. First, let me rise and praise the great God, Allah, who is the best known and ranger of all things. I give highest honors to our prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is the last prophet of this new era in time. He is the 7th manifestation in divine flesh, the 7th angel, El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. I give honors to Act 1, our divine constitution and bylaws. I give honors to our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, and our Grand National Flag. I give honors to this theocratic government in which we all live and can live. I give honors to Marcus Messiah Garvey L., forerunner to our beloved prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to all of you, and I give honors to everything Moorish. I will be reading from Exhuming of a Nation, page 375, Islamism by the Numbers. The true mystery system of Egypt, which Noble Drew Ali, an Egyptian adept master called Islamism, is founded upon the science of numbers. Men comprehend the dynamics and origin of infinity by understanding numbers. The equation science of numbers gives rise to all seen and unseen worlds. Geometry, algebra, and arithmetic are the thrones of astronomy, medicine, architecture, calendars, arts, religion, creation, civilization, order of the universe, and harmonies of life. All are contingent upon numbers. The mystery system of Egypt acquires its strength from the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7, and the 9. These are the strong numbers because they cannot be divided even, unlike the 2, the 4, the 6, and 8. Here are a few examples of the creative powers of those positive numbers. The one, origin, creator, causeless cause, rootless root. The three, there are always three steps on the master's carpet. The triune of law, wisdom, will, and love, Egyptian, initiation, illumination, and perfection. Yahushua, belief, faith, and fruition. Drew Ali, member, sheik, and adept, mastery, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Freemasonry, apprentice, fellowcraft, and master mason. Christianity, Islam's natural enemy, is structured in illusions of the three-step Egyptian mastery system. Its European churches assert the Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. This God has only one, many gods to serve. This man-made threesome is colloquially known as the white man. They are made in the likeness and image of European interests. Freemasonry, the masterful liberal arts degree of Christian Science and the chief protector of the Christian creed, also functions upon a semblance of Egyptian initiation, illumination, and perfection. The 3 degrees in all of Freemasonry is under the auspices of apprentice, fellowcraft, and master mason, see Freemason. Here in the night lodges, Masons secretly don the ancient Moorish diadem, the fez, that Muslim men have worn openly and freely for thousands of years. The 5 highest principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The 5 senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. The 5 organs, head, right arm, left arm, leg, arm, subhanAllah. The 5 elements, ethereal, fire, water, air, and land. The 5 ruling planets, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. North Star, the 5 points of the star, 5 pentagrams, 72 degrees, each equaling 360 degrees. The 7, first degree, Pastophorus, medicine and science. 2nd degree, Neochorus, geometric energies, shapes, structures, designs. 3rd degree, Melanophorus, science of non-polarized energies, in essence, time, finite duration between life and death. The 4th degree, Christophorus, inherent laws of growth, relativities from light and sound, in essence, vegetation, music, colors, crystals, and metals. The 5th degree, Balahat, science of nature and alchemic laws, logic, and the philosophy of transmutation and realization of simplicity from the most complex. 6th degree, Astronomus, the manipulation of the cosmic powers in harmony with the human body and other living things. The Polaris interaction balance with the body and the galaxies. The study of stimulative or sedative ethers. 7th degree, Prophetic, the wisdom of God in man, the right of Emmanuel, adept and prophethood, conquest of self, God realization, the Christ. These are the 7 degrees of the ancient Egyptian mystery system. The 7 represents the totality of divine creation. The ancient ones developed the curriculum for their 7 degrees from the completed circle of creation. There were 7 days in the circle, which totals everything made. Each day marked the completion of an ethereal life form from its alpha to omega. There are only 7 days in a year. They are Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Question number 101. There are 7 creative spirits with their 7 ethereal planes. The 7 infinite thoughts of Allah, which create everything that ever was, is, or evermore to be. The ancient Hebrews called these thoughts Elohim. The ADEPTs called them the 7 eyes of Allah. Man called these ether planes the planes of protoplast, earth, plant, beast, man, angel, and cherubim. Moorish Holy Quran 11, 19 through 38. There are 7 chakras sealed within the human body. These chakras are fixed from the base of the spine, upright to the heart of the mind. Yahushua said man couldn't resurrect until the fix is solved. Moorish Holy Quran 17 and 37. The ancient Siddha gurus call these astral bodies of light. Each must be lightened with wisdom. See third eye. There are also 7 sounds on the master music scale. All the audibles heard by the ears of man are the summation of these sounds. 7 colors in the spectrum. These constitute everything seen by human eyes. Without these colors, the human sentinels are useless. 7 senses for the conscious man. 5 below the eyebrows, sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, and 2 above the eyebrows, intuition and telepathy. 7 degrees in the ADEPT chamber of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The A of the MST of A, third heaven. Degrees of high consciousness in these third heaven are identical to the ancient Egyptian mystery system. The first African gods to be formed in flesh. This origin is held by the old Hebrews as the story of Adam and Eve. Noble Drew Ali brought these degrees of God attainment in the missing 18 years of Yahushua omitted in the Bible. The lessons are found in his life, works, and teachings of Yahushua by Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, see index. 7 degrees of self-mastery to divine ministry. The first degree, sincerity, chapter 14. Second degree, justice, chapter 15. Third degree, faith, chapter 16. Fourth degree, philanthropy, chapter 17. Fifth degree, heroism, chapter 18. Sixth degree, love divine, chapter 19. Seventh degree, ministry of death, divine ministry, chapter 20 and 21, prophethood. We cannot omit the Aquarian age as the 7th of time, known and prophesied by the ancient Moorish scientists, which would follow the 2,000-year Piscean age. The Piscean age, symbolized by the sign of the fish, represents the period when man's consciousness was by seas and waterways. The number for the Piscean age was 6. The number for the Aquarian age is 7, and it represents the time when man's consciousness would travel by air and other ethereal planes. It would do well to note that true Roman Catholic Mass is based on 7 sacraments: baptism, reconciliation, Eucharist, confirmation, marriage, ordination, and unction, anointing of the dead. It's Christian splinter groups, in essence, Protestants, Lutherans, Methodists, etc., went back to the 6, the body of Christ, blood and wine. The original 7 degrees of the ancient god-man Ish and goddess Isha, training lessons of the ancient Moorish in African holistic civilization. These original histories
Can't hear you, Mo.
okay, my phone got this for you. Okay, Islam. Okay, where we at? Okay. These original lessons of which all initiates upon completion of these holy instructions were called gods and goddesses. See Adam and Eve. Those who titled themselves as white gods without these courses in divinity are impostors and Moorish dictators. The Moorish are the true founders of Islam, Hotep, Islamism. Note, all things created and governed by Allah, the one, derived by the three, wisdom, will, and love, directed by the holy breath of the five principles of actions, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all rest upon the seven. When man is fully conscious of himself, then he and his creator are in fact one. The deification of man now brings us from one through the 3, 5, and 7 to the 9. The 9 is re-entry. 9 is the triune times 3. According to ancient science, 9 is symbolic of re-entry. The 9 is the conscious rebirth of the God-man. When the God-man of truth attains unto himself, and Allah is all. The 9 is the last whole number before new life, life everlasting. 9 is man leaving the perpetual realms of Y to enter his natural state, divinity, divine infinity. This numerically marks man's final use for the illusions of time, space, and calculations. Islam, Islam, Islam.
Islam. This is Dr. Bati Bey. Praise and honor is already given. The number 9 and the goddess. The woman also symbolizes the life-encompassing power of 9. She sits upon the throne of the goddess when touched by a god. From this exalted station, in 9 months, the goddess alone can create and build a temple for Allah without the sound of a hammer or use of a nail. The temple is called man. Man means thinker. In Freemasonry, the Moorish goddess is called the widow. This is because Masons are those disguised as the 3 Ruffians that have knocked her African god, Harem, in the head, leaving him civilly dead. See Freemasonry. Today, at best, this goddess of the Nile, 9, being alone without her husband, man, or God, is the only widow among the nations of the earth. In the United States and its territories, the new African widow is colloquially spoken of as the single mom, or my baby mama, or self-proclaimed bitch. See, single moms. Nevertheless, this widow is another Western misnomer because man cannot die. The spirit man is one with Allah, and while Allah lives, man cannot die. The human seed that came forth from the heart of Allah, the husbandman of everything that is, threw forth his human seed into the soil of soul. He became the Lord of all kingdoms of the soul. Thus, there can be no widow because Allah is the husbandman. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 1. No other woman on planet Mud divinely inherits the title of goddess, save the queens from Africa. The only reason bitch is applied to her in the United States of America is because in science, a bitch is an unprotected female of any species. Her God-man has been displaced and has no current jurisdiction over her or their children. The 9 being triune times 3 is further illustrated by the 3 stages times 3 degrees of perfection of man. The deification of man. Allah equals wisdom plus will plus love. Prophet equals initiation plus illumination plus perfection. Man equals belief plus faith plus fruition. Though these 3 steps times 3 degrees, the ancient ones perfected the mystery system of Egypt. It was so perfectly developed until it became known as the only straight pathway of perfection, e.g., salvation, redemption, or religion. It is the holistic philosophy of these sciences which became the way of life for the ancient Moors over 25,000 years ago. This became the first religious creed that was taught in degrees to initiates over a period of 2 to 3 years. Esoteric
Must have froze up.
Islam, you want me to pick up where he left off at?
Islam, Mo, go ahead.
Islam. This became the first religious creed that was taught in degrees to initiates over a period of 2 to 3 years exoteric, or 12 to 18 years esoteric. Those who were initiated by circumcision and completed the first level of self-mastery received the title of Sheikh or Adept. Graduates of the higher degrees received the titles of God, Prophet, Christ, Messiah, and their life works were called divine ministry. Moses, Abraham, Boaz, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, Joseph, John, and Yahushua, Issa, all received their prophethood from the same Egyptian mystery system. Some example given, Melchizedek and Yahushua were of virgin birth of the adepts and received the highest God degree called Christdom. All prophets and Christ were distinguished with their own symbol of perfected man. Moses received the staff, David the star, Yahushua the circle 7, and noble Drew Ali the scimitar and star. Each part of a symbol represented a degree of perfection. The logos is a perfect word, the circle is a perfect symbol, and 7 is a perfect number. Chapter 13, ayat 2 through 5. This is the full lotus of God in man, also taught by the Siddha Guru masters. The holy prophet Noble Drew Ali brought the Egyptian mystery system in the highest degree ever known to man and bestowed it upon his people, the Moorish Americans. For the first time in 3 ages, 6,000 years, have these lessons been given to an entire nation of people by their ancient forefathers. He divinely instructed the Moorish Americans. There is no one who is able to change man from the descent nature of his forefathers. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 47, ayat 11. Being their prophet, his greatest task is to start them thinking. This ancient system is the old time religion called Islamism. Question 718. It is not in conflict with the perfecting of your religion in the great Quran of Muhammad, as brought to his simple polytheistic people of Mecca, Arabia. In fact, Islamism is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing of all, subhanAllah, instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 45, ayat 1. Islamism is a perfected segment of Hotep, Islamism. This is the old time religion which Christians sang for. The Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites from the lands of Canaan and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 45, ayat 2, are the true Sunni Muslims. The word Sunni means original, and Muslims, subhanAllah, are the true Sunni Muslims. The word Sunni means original, and Muslims means those who submit their will to the will of the great God Allah. The Moorish are the founders of the first religious creed, Islamism, historically known as the 3-step on the master's carpet, the ancient Comedian mystery system. These degrees, once placed on the 3-step ladder of salvation, belief, faith, and fruition, would raise the consciousness of the initiate to the wisdom of self, the higher self. Through the knowledge of the lower self, the illusions of the world, which are concerned with time, one would become a mastermind, adept with the grace of God, Allah. This true education is the definition of the word saved, which is the root of salvation. Anyone who claims to be saved and is not free with these true knowledge of the selves is is in the feigned redemption of Maya. They are still slaves to sin. Again, written upon the sacred temples and walls of the ancient pyramids are the words Sutanathi, man know thyself. The ultimate goals of the Egyptian mystery system and Moorish science, Islamism, are the deification of man. This is the most misunderstood lesson in the Moorish American curriculum. Yet the value of all their virtues, standards, and principles rests squarely upon mastering this first degree. Drew Ali was the first to bring the ancient principle Sutanathi to them, declaring in the voice of their forefathers to first know thyself and thy father God Allah. Prophet Yahushua, born in Bethlehem of Judah in the house of David, became an Egyptian adept Christ during the 18-year period of his life not found in the Bible. The main reason he was so misunderstood was because he was born during the Piscean age, but all his life works and teachings were the spiritual bridge from man to Allah. It would be 2,000 years before the human family will realize what he has done, all men must do. This is also the reason Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali could not bring a new religion. He brought the ancient science of Islam, Islamism, as it was revealed to him in Egypt. The same revelations given to the Holy Prophet Muhammad by the angel Gabriel in Arabia. Drew Ali simply returned again to the Moorish, that which was theirs through inheritance and divine guidance. The Moorish Americans often refer to these sacred teachings as the 7 great wonders and mysteries. Even in congregational prayer, they stand with eyes open, raised arms and 5 fingers extended on the left hand and 2 fingers on the right. Leveled at the eyes, a Moorish diadem head then becomes the world beyond the circle of the sun. Chapter 20, Ayat 2. This is the prayer stand of all Moorish initiates. All 10 fingers extended with feet 40 at a 45-degree angle is the prayer stance of ADEPT, Islam.
In Islam, grand man, we give honors to all the Moors who have come forth demonstrating their portions. And gratitude, Brother Gael, for picking up where our brother Bati Bey left off. And also honors to our brother Hamid Muhammad Bey for bringing his special portion on the manifest. And again, we want to give honors to our Moorish kin for everything that one is demonstrating along the way. As it is, we who are the ones that are here to write our history and correct, all those things that have been, people have been misinformed or have a misunderstanding about. Here in your Moorish American government, we demonstrate Moorish science, and if we demonstrate Moorish science, then we ourselves have the knowledge as scientists of divinity to bring clarity to a people. And so we go beyond the measure, whereas man began to think along the lines of, well, somebody just said this and that's what it is. And no, we got to go beyond that in this era and time, because we know that our holy prophet was the message that he brought. We know our holy prophet brought nothing but the truth and the whole truth. May the great God Allah help all of us to have this special understanding. So in this special era and time, for us to come into a clear conception of the work that we are called to do, we have to be the message that we bring. Despite the works of what our prophet did, we have a work to do. You see, we all have a great work to do, and it is again bringing clarity to our people and giving them insight. How else could we teach them if we don't bring clarity to them? You see, so at this special time that we are living in, this new era in time, everything is known to the people. Nothing is hidden from the masses You know, this is the age of information. Everything is out here. So all we have to do is take insight, and that insight that we have, we can bring, again, clarity to our Moorish kin and uplift fallen humanity as well. But what I want to do is address, you know, our questions in regards to dealing with the subject matter on the floor. And we know the first one was, what is Elohim, sometime called the seven eyes of Allah? And then we will ask again, how many days are in the circle? 7 days. How many days are in creation? 7 days. According to science, how many days are in a year? 7 days. So from this special measure here along, a lot of it actually is explained in the teaching that the prophet gave right here in the questionnaire, right? Now, we know when you're dealing with the seven eyes of Allah, you're actually dealing with that not only deals with where the great God Allah is watching creation, but also through that providence, he placed those same powers within man. The seven eyes of Allah are active in creation as it is above, and they are active through man who is on the manifest working in this special plane. This is how we have to view the science when we deal with it. How many days are in the circle? 7 days, right? Then how many days are in creation? 7 days. Really, this is talking about the same thing. When you talk about the circle being 7 days and creation being the 7 days, it's the same measure. You see, so 7 days in a circle has to do with the fact that at the end of that point of the 7, one returns back to the beginning point. You see, this is the source. This is a cycle, what we call it, right? And then when you deal with how many days are in creation, well, you got to do the same thing. Return to the source. And we spoke on this last night. One thing about it, we came into the manifest from the exalted realm. And the goal is to return back to the, we're going to return anyway when it comes to the spiritual aspect, but to return even before leaving the flesh. You see? But when we return to the source while still being in the flesh, this in itself is a cycle. And that's why the days of creation are synonymous again with the circle. That's simplicity, right? And so when you get into the aspect of the last question, according to science, how many days are in a year, many people, you know, end up getting this twisted if they're looking at it from a Gregorian standpoint. And we're going to point that out in a minute. You know, but there are 7 days in a year. Well, how in the possible 7 days in a year? You know, they go to thinking like that. This is because they are thinking, again, according to somebody else's calendar. See, when you deal with our calendar, a great year for us is dealing with the 7. You see? A great year is when the 7th of time comes on the manifest. This has been from the time of Adam all the way down to Ali. When a particular prophet or God man came on the manifest, during that time, he was the 7th of the era in time that he came forth. Any prophet you want to think about. That's why we say Prophet Noble Drew Ali was the 7th of this era in time. You see, Yahushua was the 7th of that era in time that he was in over 2,000 years ago, but yet he carried the same spirit. So this is why, according to our science, there are 7 days in a year. Because we're not getting caught up in the aspects of dealing with a 24-hour day. But when you go into the aspect of dealing with a day, even according to modern science, it ain't what people think it is. But when you get into the aspect of dealing with a day, you're talking about a great year. If you know anything about, cyclic processions and so forth and so on, you have a great year. And that's the only thing that matters. You ain't got to worry about going, yeah, we say our flag is over 50,000 years, 100,000 years old. But what is the key event that take place? And we emphasized this before. Like when we talk about over 100,000 years ago, the Moors circumnavigated the earth. Are we getting so caught up into the aspect of, oh my goodness, that's 100,000 years ago? Are we dealing with the event of what took place 100,000 years ago? See, so when we speak of the flag being over 50,000, are we getting caught up in, ooh, it's 50,000 years ago? Are we going into the aspect of the event of the flag coming to the manifest at that special time? And it's the same thing when you deal with our prophet coming on the manifest. Are we so caught up into the time of it being, just 2,000 years later? Are we dealing with the event? Well, the prophet said in the year 2000, the more we're going to come into their own. Are we so caught up in the year 2000? Are we dealing with the event of the Moors coming into their own? And when we come into our own as a clean and pure nation, we know 3 and 4 is 7. The prophet said he came for the young and not yet born. The 3rd and 4th generation. Then it makes sense when we speak on these 7 days as it relates to a year, because we're dealing with the great year of our unfoldment. There's no need to worry about how many more cycles going to come after this and get caught up into the entanglements of dealing with mere aspects of time. Now, don't get me wrong, Moorish King. We ain't saying Moors don't do your research and your due diligence and so forth and so on. We're just speaking on the matters that are more important. You see, because if one end up getting caught up into the time calculations as opposed to the event, man, you'll be studying years just doing that. But what will it benefit you? Or what will it benefit a nation of people to just know, particular time periods? Whoop-de-doo, you just know a whole bunch of time periods, right? And so all that deal with illusion anyway, because we know about the past and the so-called present and so-called future. You see? So like I say, this is not a negative connotation to what we are attacking one doing research in that area, but we are letting it be known what is most important about those, especially. That's why we talk about it. We refer to it in the Moorish Holy Quran as a milestone in the journey of the race. You see? So what milestone has humanity, fallen humanity, reached within the journey of the race? You see? That's a powerful measure. So what I want to do, I got a few measures I had put up here just for, I always try to give my family a pictorial drawing to a certain degree. And we got a few of them up here that we want to deal with. I want to start with, let me make sure I get this information here. I'm just opening up this PDF right here, Moorish Ken. Let's see. And once I open it up, all is well. So basically, yeah, we want to just focus on the special event that takes place, and once we can do that, I guarantee you that we will have it will be easier to communicate these things to our people who are uninformed, and also you can communicate it to them through their own particular doctrine or whatever they think they stand on and so forth and so on. So this is the drawing as to where we are along the way. I'm trying to make sure I got this. Let me make sure. You can see this. Where in the world is the? Okay. 1 second here, Moorish Ken. We almost got you. Okay. All right. Okay, now we'll do this here. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. Okay, there we go, right there. And I want to open this up right here real quick so you can see it. And let me know when you see the screen share, Moorish Ken. Okay. Can you see it more?
Islam.
Okay, you see this PDF right here I got here? Okay, it's just a small slide that I created. And let me move this out the way. Now, most cases, when you're dealing with people in the Piscean records, they believe that the 7 days of creation have to do with coming from a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and Saturday, and then they go into what they call a Sabbath. You know, and all this right here is totally different from the way we demonstrate, because we come from the Saturday, as you've seen the chairman demonstrate in the Book of Fire. And then we fall on the Friday, not fall, but the day come forth on the Friday, so to speak. You know, it manifests at that time because that's the proper way when you're dealing with our calendar. But outside of all time, you know, we express this, and this is from the book Proverbs 8. If you're trying to bring them out of a darkness of understanding that they existed before time, they existed before man was always on the manifest basis. Before this physical man that they talk about made doing these, we went into this history before. We even went here before, but we just getting a little bit more detail with it. So in this particular drawing here, it's a key word that's used here, but we're going to go through it briefly. He said, and a lot of Christians don't even know this is in their book, the Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. Hence the word before his works of old, right? He say, I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains, abounding with water. All right, now, so this is going back before anything was created, right? Physically. It states, before the mountains were settled, before the hills, I was brought forth. Now, this ain't Jesus talking. You know, they say this was David, you know, which was a Moabite, basically. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. So we ain't got to even explain to the family that this is not talking about Adam. You see, it ain't talking about the Jesus that the people think it's talking about. You see, this definitely talking about Adam, God, man. It says, while as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. Up is made plain now. When he set a compass on the face of the depth. And that's the key word. He set a compass on the face of the depth. Now, what is the compass used for? We know it's used to draw circles around our passions and desires and to keep them within the bounds of righteousness, right? But the heavenly use of this special compass is the Creator drawing a circle around creation and keeping it within the bounds of Ma'atic law. He established order. You see, that's basically what it is saying. It said when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree that the water should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth, then I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the habitable part of this earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. Now, a lot of people, you know, don't know that when you get into this special drawing, this is one acknowledging their pre-existence. Before the sons of men became manifested in the physical form, the sons of men were in a spirit form. Everybody know this right here, right? You know, even those after the time the Nephilim, you know, had began to mingle with the women, you know, they were still called sons of men, but they had angelic characteristics in them. In other words, when the Elohim, you know, begin to, we can say, cohabitate, so to speak, because that's what happened. It ain't no secret. Everybody know how it went down. But it speaks on, in this area, it's talking about firmaments and all this stuff, what was created. It take you right back to chapter 1 in the Piscean records when it speak, and it says that in the beginning, you know, when everything was void without form and darkness was upon the face of the deep. We talked about that word ayin last night, Ein Sof. But when you deal with that at special time, the presence of spirit was there. And if he hovered upon the space of the face of the deep, and his spirit moved upon the face of what is called the waters, which is really the universe. Don't think of it as liquid water. You know, we're talking about the universe and its vast expanse with the firmaments, as they call them, you know, are different spheres of the heavens. So out of this, we know life manifested, you see, and then we had planets that became habitable, you see, planets that had their own stars and suns and so forth and so on, everything else. And we know time came as a result of those things being on the manifest, because really when you measure in time, all you're doing is measuring a distance from one point to another. That's all you're doing. So we don't get caught up into measuring a distance from one point of another. You know, we more know that we have been here, as we say it was, it is, and evermore shall be. We, the truth, has always been here. We always been on the mountain. We were right there with the great God, you see? And all of this, you will see how it ties into the 7 Elohim and the eyes, as we speak of the Elohim. Now, see, this is the European depiction. This is the problem right here. The European has had people believing when they get into their day, because, you know, in the Piscean record, they say, well, a day, you know, is as 1,000 years. And, you know, they think that that's some slick, so to speak. And then they get you to thinking that, okay, well, this means, well, one day, day one was 1,000, you know, years. Then day two, you know, was another 1,000 years. And when you add them up, you got 7,000 years. So that means that, okay, creation is just 7,000 years old. Let the European tell it. But then they contradict it with modern science and say, well, man has been around for over umpteen billion years ago. You see what I'm saying? So you can't have it both ways. You see, now when you scientists, you understand, like we know that time never was. Now, if you want to get into some of the people that have kept the oldest time on the planet, if you were dealing with that, it would be the Indus Kushite Valley civilization. They got calendar histories that go up to 311 trillion years. I ain't seen nobody keep it longer than that. Or when you go back to where they got it from in Kemet, as we pointed out to our Moorish kid, you know, you talking about Zep Tepi. You see? Before time ever was. So, I mean, if you go in them areas there, they just blow everybody else's little calendars out of the water. But again, we're not here to deal with those aspects. But nevertheless, this is how the European depicted. It's day one here. You see? And this day two right here, right? This is day three right here, right? Then they say, well, this is day four. This is day 5, day 6, and day 7. And that's it. You see? So we know good and well, when we look at everything and we weigh our options and we see the truth as it is, we know good and well that creation been around longer than that. That is the time period or the calendar that deals with them. See, they even got a European depicted right here. See, this is what happened when you let the criminal describe the crime. And then had the audacity to put a pig in the garden. Out of all animals now. It ain't strange because the Hyksos were depicted in a lot of ways, but mostly in the same ways when they were being subdued by Heru with that sphere. He treated them all the same. So nevertheless, they got one of the most dirtiest or filthiest creatures here. You see? A pig. Look at the little short tail. But anyway, Moorish kin, as we go on and getting into dealing with the knowledge of our science, many of you have already seen this depiction here and this, but we never really expounded, you know, on the essence of the two. You hear Moors go to talking about, and they think they're talking slick, I'm on my square and all this other type of stuff here. But in all actuality, what you're really talking about, you know, if you really had a knowledge of it, is one being upon the conduct that is exalted above the material realm. You see, you beyond, yeah, I'm come forth from dealing with elements and so forth and so on, but I'm more exalted than that. I know how to govern. You ever heard somebody say, I'm outside of my element? You see? And they use this in reference to the state that they are in. So when you, and this is how we actually should be, we should be able to stand outside of the elemental side of life and be able to govern, you know, everything that is in the material realm and not allow that to govern us. Well, how do you do this? Well, you got to have the 7 eyes of Allah to manifest. See, everywhere you look, our signs start popping up if one pay attention. You see the 7 eyes right here, but you also see the star. You see? And you notice this, if you pay attention, this is a symbol of man in the macrocosm, and this is a symbol, you know, of the 7 eyes of the creator, which govern the macro and the microcosm. You see? Now, when you look over here in this particular reflection, we deal with the 2 that held, the 5 that fell. Now we understand. If you notice here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? But yet when you see here shining upon the sarcophagus, you see, because that's all the body is. It's nothing more than a sarcophagus. When it's shining upon this measure, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 held in the state of divinity. When 5 fell in relation or remain in relation to deal with the body, right? So in order to fix this or solve the fix, we, through the eye of divine providence, the vision of divinity, the creator, the great God Allah, being love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we come out of an inverted thought pattern after the fall of man, and we ascend back into that original state. And when we ascend back, now the 7 are complete again. You see, you ain't dealing with a fallen state. You're dealing with 7 states of heaven. And the boat, for those who may not be familiar, the boat, any boat in ancient Kemet has always been synonymous with the soul. You see? So when you're dealing with the boat being synonymous with the soul, or as they call it, the bark of Ra, it is in this special boat that one is said to travel the celestial spheres. But you see sunlight or dish shining rays down, and 7 of them manifested. We speak of the great God Allah breathing forth, and the 7 Elohim coming on the manifest. But this is the same thing in regards to dealing with the self. When he breathed forth truth into us after being Negro, black, and colored people, then our 7 eyes should be wide open. The seats of our consciousness should be wide open at this special time, right? This is just a measure that we give to our Moorish kin for clarity. So nevertheless, moving on up to here, we have went into this chart with our Moorish kin before, and I know a lot of our Moorish kin have also reached out to us and say, well, can you go into that demonstration, again, and give me a little more insight on that? And so here's one of them times that we're going to revisit in a special lesson, and that we bring forth more blessings. Looking at the science of the 7 family, if you pay attention to this, on how everything exists within the 7, you hear the chairman say, well, the 7 is our number. It's our symbol, the circle 7, right? Out of this 7, you see everything that we have here that is manifested. But just starting with 7. But in order to get to the 7, you got to come from the 1. You see? And in all simplicity, going up from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, so to speak. And if you go into the math and see how everything unfolds, just dealing with the 7 alone, you can see that from 7 in 3 stages now, when you come from the center to the outer bounds, 3 and 4 is what? 7. Creation, right? Then 2 and 5 is what? 7. Dealing with the circle, right? And then when we go into the aspects of the 6 and the 1, 7. That's in the science of the number 7 itself. It's in direct sync with what we see in the questionnaire, what we're dealing with, right? But yet there's a deeper aspect of the math that is also on the manifest, because when you add everything up, then you get into what we call 28. You see, 28 is when you add all of these things together, right? But then when you do with a little multiplication, and you begin to add, everything up, and you take things to another level, you come to the 42, which is the number of the 42 laws of Ma'at. So this 28 has to actually deal with the Egyptian alphabetical letters of the creation cycle that will manifest. All of this coming forth, because if you know anything about the tree of life, what they call gematria, alphabets are said to come forth as the language in creation before man began to speak a language. There was a divine alphabet that became manifest. And that's what we're getting at when we speak on the 28. But yet the 42, being the 42 laws of Ma'at on the manifest, you can see how in this circle that had been inscribed, as we pointed out when we was reading the Piscean records, how the compass had been used to bring a law within the bounds, or keep law establish law and keep it within the bounds, creation within its bounds, so to speak. So the Ma'atic law was there from the beginning. You see? Now, when we go a little further, if you look over here, how all of these things come forth in regards to dealing with Kemet, you have the father of letters, which is known as Tehuti, you see? And you have the mother of Nimba, you see? And this is basically his God woman. And they both work together. Seshat is what they call it. Saptet, they even use that terminology as well. But nevertheless, it is through these two entities in ancient Kemet that we record that letters and numbers become manifest. Also, if you know about Tehuti and his journey, if you were to read the Emerald Tablets, you would notice he was traveling through the 7 heavens, through the 7 planes of existence. He spoke of the 7 creative principles as well. You see, so this is circle 7 science. Also, we already know that he was Atlantean that taught the Kemites. So this go right back to what our holy prophet was teaching. So we can see that Tehuti was a 7 of his time to the ancient Kemites. And when he passed that teaching to Asar, because Tehuti was the one that taught Asar, Tehuti means divine mind, by the way. Thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. In other words, he deposited his divinity into the God man that he was teaching. And this is what we should do as Moorish American Muslims. Whatever we learn, we deposit into those whom we teach. And that same mind continue to travel. See, they didn't know what they were saying when they say, let this same mind be within you that was in Christ Jesus. That's what they say in the Bible, right? You see, they should have said, let this same mind be within you that has to deal with the divinity that was from the beginning. You see? Because we pass the thought. And that's how we hold the thought, so to speak. So here, you can also see that there were 2 numbers that we brought forth dealing with the theocratic government of the world, because it's quite natural if Ma'at is on the manifest, and law is manifesting too. So in other words, as there was a celestial government in creation that came out of the 7, then a celestial government would manifest based upon the 7 in the physical. You see, and we are that government. This is all just dealing with the science of the numbers, you see? And we go into all of this, Moorish Ken, and it brings us again back to the source, back to ourselves, back to what belonged to us. We can even see the math where we went into breaking everything down to where it comes into Allah, Ali, and the 7 postulates. What are the 7 postulates? It has to do with everything that you have along with Act 1, along with your citizens, your government, etc. So in all, every time you make a cycle or a circle, though you're dealing with the 7, really, you're also dealing with the 9, which has to do with re-entry. You see? Because if truth come to you in one age, and then in the next age, it comes again, but at a greater degree, it's still the truth, but it came at a higher level of vibration. And this is re-entry of the truth in that new particular era in time. You see, so here, you know, as our brother Mustafa Gadala most clearly pointed out as well, the conceiving phase of the Ennead is the number 9, the Ennead of the orderly manifestation equaling 9, Ennead of reunification, which I seen as us being mad. Reunification dealing with what we call the uniting of the Asiatic states and everything that it is. All this deals though with cycles. This is dealing with circle. This is dealing with a completion. Or some people call it a culmination of events. And we know that law governs all events. right? So having this special knowledge and knowing that when we speak on the creation, the circle, and the year, that we're not dealing with anything in the European context, then we'll have a clear conception. But if we're trying to use the European knowledge or their information as a yardstick by which we measure what it is that belongs to us, then we're going to be burnt up from the start every time. Because that's the whole purpose. We are here to correct the knowledge that we have received, you know, during the time of slavery. We got to get a church and Christianity and everything else that the European gave us back to them and write our own history, because the pen is in our hand now. Nobody is making us accept what we accepted previously. It is only us who continue to accept those things that allude to slavery. I want to show you something here, Moorish Ken. Let me stop sharing that. Okay. Where is it at? Okay, here. And this was coming from the Grand Quran. Remember, we using all books that the people are mostly buried in order to bring them into the truth. We already know how to teach more science, but how can we reach our people? You see, teaching them more science through their own dialect. You see, through their own dialect. So this was a measure coming from the Grand Quran, and it was Surah Baqarah, Surah 2, Ayat 29. It say, it is he who created for you all that is on the earth and then turned above and fashioned it into 7 heavens. And he knows all things. And they even use the term, as we pointed out in our class last night, dealing with the 7 degrees. And we was talking about the white feathers, they use the term istawa. They say he rose above these special 7 firmaments. You see? It actually goes on to say in the Yusuf Ali version, it say, it is he who created for you all things on the earth, and moreover his design comprehended the heavens. His design comprehended the heavens. That means that the blueprint of the great God Allah, is blue ether print, it has the ability to think. He gave it an ability to think. You see? It said his design comprehended the heavens, for he gave order and perfection to the 7 firmaments, and he had perfect knowledge. So the order and perfection goes again back to the law that governs the event. So are we caught up more into dealing with the time, or are we dealing with the laws that govern again the event? You see? In commentary here, they went on to say it is difficult to explain precisely what is meant by the 7 heavens. It says, in all ages, man has tried with the help of observation and speculation to conceptualize the heavens and that which lies beyond and above the earth. As it states, we well know the concepts that have thus developed have constantly changed. Hence, it would be improper to tie the meaning of these words of the Quran to any one of the numerous concepts. In other words, the brother that's giving the commentary here is telling you, you know, in other words, you don't place limitations upon a particular draw. Yeah, that interpretation might have been all right, it's good, or whatever the case may be, but don't become fixed in that special demonstration until you can come forth with a concrete drawing. But it says what might be broadly inferred from this statement is that either God has divided the universe beyond the earth into 7 distinct spheres, or that this earth is located in that part of the universe which consists of 7 different spheres. And we know about the mesosphere, the ionosphere, the troposphere, you know, all of this dealing with the levels of the atmosphere that we're talking about. And it's actually 7 different stages if you go and do the research, and it also goes back to those things that correspond to what is within oneself. You know, remember, we reached the rate of the atmosphere in our thought. And that's when survival of the best came in, that's the material aspect. So when we go up beyond that, you see, then we are dealing with our divinity. It says also, and this was just a bonus on it, it say in this sentence, and that's dealing with he knows all things. In this sentence, the attention is drawn to two important facts. First, man is warned against disbelief and rebellion against God, for God knows all that man does, and none of his actions are hidden from him. And second, it is suggested to man that if he turns away from the all-knowing God, from the source of all the knowledge, that this can only leave him groping in the darkness of ignorance and error, which we see when it comes to dealing with most of our people. What happened when you get outside of the guidance of the seven eyes of Allah? Do you not fall into a state of darkness? Is that not the state that we was in when we was demonstrating NBC consciousness? So it says, when there is no source of truth and knowledge except God, when that very light which alone can illuminate man's life. Islam, brother Pearson Bay.
Islam. I'm leaving. Who I'm leaving? Islam, my bad.
Islam. So it states, when there is no source of truth, knowledge except God, and when that very light which alone can illuminate man's life can be obtained from none else but him, what God can come out of a deviation from the truth. Whomsoever God guide, none can misguide. Whomsoever God allows to go upon the path of misguidance, none can guide. So if you ain't being guided by the seven eyes of Allah through your consciousness, then there ain't nobody that can tell you nothing. You see, you already done failed. As the chairman say, we become dead in the head. That's what man fell at. When he fell in his head, when he lost his ability to exercise intuition and telepathy, everything else was shot from, goodness gracious. When you talk about the other five, man controlled by his passions and his desires, and we call that going into a state of bestiality. You know, you heard the chairman talk about the Negro and the beast. See, you dealing with that when you're dealing with inverted thought pattern. You see the Negro and the beast. Boy, that's a lot to deal with too, the Negro and the beast. You got to deal with the NBC and the beast. That's bad. Ain't nothing good coming up out that Moorish kid. You know, you talk about a Baphomet and all that other foolishness that they be talking about. Goodness gracious. You know, and I like our sister Carter Bay when she brought out that measure dealing with Nebuchadnezzar. Prime example. You know, he was supposed to be a so-called supreme ruler coming from the Cushite bloodline and everything, if you go into his true lineage. And then that ego kicked in, king's ambition, Maya and illusion. Next thing you know, this man was crawling on all fours in a beastly state. Now, that's bad. And that's what happened when you talk about the creation and fall of man. So in the circle, we are to come forth into creation, do a work, ascend out of creation, return back to the source, and that's it. Now, when we get caught up on this wheel, continuously beginning, or we say falling by climbing over and over and over again, you caught up in that wheel of karma, that's because you just ain't solved the fix yet. And that's the state that we end up falling into. We get into a state to where we begin, I call it the hamster on the wheel. That's the perfect example. That little hamster be running, he think he going somewhere, and them little legs be just moving. And he in one spot, he don't know. You getting on the, you just running. Now, can you imagine? Now, this deal with the 1,000 ways by which men can, we can say millions of ways even, by which a man can be destroyed. But it's only one way by which one can be saved. And that's really by ascension. Constantly rising, like our Grand Secretary of the State spoke of. See, I listen to my Moorish kin. That's why I can call it to mind. I don't just sit here and be in, let me see right here, and then I don't know what's going on. I can go back to previous measures in the week because I'm a student. I'm listening, you see? And so we can incorporate these measures and bring even more clarity when it comes to bringing classes like, and we should all demonstrate like that because we can't get strength from weak sources. So nevertheless, as our sister spoke, you know, one is always ascending. Now there's a case where we hear about the ladder and angels ascending and descending upon the ladder. That's in Surah 70 of the Grand Quran, where it talks about the angels, and it says that, you know, their journey is that of almost 50,000 years when you're dealing with the earthly realm of things, you know, but really it's talking about the event. It say the event is actually quite near, though through your senses, you can't perceive it that way. But what is the purpose of an angel ascending and descending? Well, we know angels bring messages. Angels also, you know, return to the source to be replenished, so to speak. And they come back to the manifest. This is what we do while we in the body. As long as we in the body, we have the ability to ascend and descend on the ladder, but we ascend to get the lesson and we come back with the blessing when we descend. You see? And that descending has nothing to do with going into the lower self. It's simply, I'm going up here to sit into the assembly, you know, of the masterminds. And when I come back down with this degree, I'm gonna bring it here to the family to uplift and inspire along the way. See, this all has to do with being those who are able to exercise the powers of self-mastery. You are dealing with your seven heavens. Your seven heavens represent not only your chamber of mastery, but your seven heavens, again, also represent your source through which you are able to go back to the source. You know how we say, put your hand in the hand of the great God Allah? Your mind and his mind, your will and his will, one. That's what we're talking about. Islam, and nobody did that better than our holy prophet. So, we're getting ready to open up the floor, Moorish kin. And, hold up, let me see here. All right, there we go. We had put this particular measure. It's always good to revisit. We made reference to this. If you really look into this, Moorish kin, we're tying, you know, this particular research today into the class that we demonstrated last night as well. Because what we do, we give foundation from this. There ain't nothing wrong with using the hammer of repetition to take our people to a greater degree of understanding. And so we mentioned this particular chart here. And if you pay attention to it, again, notice that one in the manifest deal with being, you know, a mere man, but then they evolve and go all the way up the ladder, so to speak. You see, we was talking about man last night, you know, being in the semblance of the Sphinx. But this all has to do with, in actuality, man in the Moorish American government, Moorish American national, being in line, or his will being in line with the 7 acts. You see? But yet, when you go on to a grand measure, if one is in line with the 7 acts and they make a circle in their divine constitution, because it's a part of you too, then this also deal with your 7 days of perfection, your 7 days of completion. So every day, what we trying to do, we trying to get to a level to where every day we are living those 7 acts And so you're dealing with the 7 days, and you're dealing with that same circle of completion. And in that circle of completion, this is where mastery come forth. This is where our people can then draw strength from us. That's what a true executive ruler demonstrates. And you notice we said executive rulers of the consular adept chamber of man, Moorish American National. You see? And when you do this here, if you look at the letters and you arrange them, you can actually get the ER of the consular AC of man, the ruler of Mecca. Not over in the Middle East somewhere, but right here, because you're dealing with what's above the neck. You see, that's your Mecca. It's the source of your divinity. This is where the mother of virtues lie, that ma'atic mother, when it comes to dealing with balance, when it comes to dealing with harmony, truth, balance, right order, and justice. The hemispheres of our thinking has to be balanced. But this can only be done when we make the circle. So do we think that plummeting just into this plane of existence is what we're supposed to be? And that's it? If we stuck there, then we burn up from the start. So we have to unfold from that state and return back to the source. And again, we have become the message that we bring, the circle 7, just like our prophet. He didn't just teach the circle 7, he personified it. He lived it. That's 7 days in a circle. In other words, every day of your life is a day in which you personify what it is that you stand on. And you creating at the same time, you demonstrating a degree of being an L, because now you're coming out of a chaotic state of being one who was lost in a state of darkness when it came to mental slavery. You have the power to recreate yourself and bring yourself into the manifest and being the God that you are. Standing or rising on the 7. You see? So, man, it's just powerful, Moorish Ken. And we just want to encourage our family to keep doing the research and studying. Because, you know, these are only small keys here and there, but they aid and assist along the way with those who are seeking to truly be assisted, you know, in their understanding. But remember, when you talk about the Godhead of a Moorish American National, you know, that's one that has perfected the self and come into the state of being the 7. You see, now we become what we call chief protectors of everything that is within this special circle. So I just want to say gratitude for the great God Allah allowing us, as I stated in this particular chart, to be human spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. When you talk about human spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah, you're talking about that one that has become perfected through the 7 and the circle. It's all there in our flags and ensigns and everything, Moorish Ken. That's powerful if we pay attention to it. Go back now to your chart of Islamism. That's actually featured on page 374. And don't it make more sense when you can see it, you know, from this special perspectives of going into the self, going into creation and how that relates to you? So you get outside of the mystery of a thing, and now you see that the true history of you being one with the great God Allah is that history that has to do with everything that a people will be uplifted by if they will embrace it. So I just want to say gratitude, Moorish Ken, at this particular time. And we have divided our Moorish Ken are biting at the bit since they opening up the floor already. And before we get to the Moorish Ken, we want them to star 6 their phone, and we gonna call forth Act 1 and let our Grand National Chairman come forth and tell us about the 7 eyes of Allah and these days. Islam, Grand National Chairman.
Mighty Mother, you?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear with divine ears.
At least in much honor to everything that the prophet brought to save us as a nation of people. And magnanimous class, man. You know, I especially got elated when you went to the examination, and you know what, especially when you got a 176, dealing with those the numbers, and it's so important to us as conscious Moorish Americans that we know the importance of the circle 7, the circle and the 7. It is so key because this is the perfection. Noble Dwali didn't come to break us, just make us no students and things. He came for us to get on the completion of the circle and the 7, because we are the ones who know that he made known who made you. Once you've gotten conscious of the fact that the great God made you, then you have got to be what you are. It's not complicated, but with this something that we've got to do, because we're so used to the West being under Western Freemasonry. Well, they probably call it the church, and then he also speaks about Christianity, and this was the fallen state of conscious or unconsciousness that we had fallen into when he got back here, and it was so bad that they probably call it mental slavery. It's such a deep, we were just out of it. And so now that we're responsible for being conscious, we've got to accept also the responsibility of the government and the nature of the earth that we've got to save. That's our responsibility. We got to save every nation, the entire human family of nations. That's our responsibility. And you know, look, I'm just so elated with the way that you elevate these classes and bring us to and use more science to elevate us into the state of our own, the wisdom of our own consciousness. And because when the law comes to us, it speaks from at the highest plane of spirit life. And that's where these chapters are coming, these lessons are coming from. And thank you so much for the elateness. Islam.
Islam, Chairman, we give honors to you for them lofty teachings that you brought us in that book of fire. Cause we burning everything up out there, root and branch. You know what I'm talking about? Islam. I wish a member would. Well, all right. Well, let us call forth our Grand National Secretary of the State, since she right there. And we know she, man, I ain't got to talk about the icing. Y'all know. Islam, Grand National Secretary of the State.
Islam, Moorish Ken, first of all, on the rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Egyptian Adaptist Research Sultanate meeting, to our Maryland Consulate for providing the forum, and also to you, our host instructor, Dr. Shadow Amenti El-Mohedjed Shepsuel, for bringing forth this class. Also giving honor to Act One and all of the consulates represented, all of my Moorish kin. This indeed has been a very enlightening class. A lot of keys for me to go back and do the research in. The things that really struck my attention, Dr. Shahi, was dealing with when you were speaking about not getting it confused with the Gregorian calendar and just breaking down our ancestors going back trillions of years. And when it came down to Rome, especially when you said, okay, Rome is going to call us day one, that's going to be about 1,000 years, day two, et cetera, like they know. And the thing about it is that the key point was when you were saying that's their special history, you know, and trying to make the whole world seem as if you got to go according to my dictates, you know, and later for the billions of years that you have been into existence, coming directly from the source of divinity, you know, we're going to put you on the manifest, and this is where you're going to stay. And that a special circle that our people have gotten hung up into. I also saw when we're speaking about ascending and descending, if you don't know your history, you are destined to repeat it. And this is why we keep falling into that reincarnation cycle. I just saw the other day one of the old pictures dealing with Sodom and Gomorrah of all things, and in reference to when there is a specific instruction given out by the Creator, don't look back. In essence, don't be longing for the things on the earth or the things on a manifest level or whatever your earthly desires may be. It's ranged from A to Z. And when you brought that key point in reference to you were with the Creator, you had a particular mission, whether you wanted to descend and let your passions go unchecked. Now you got hung up in the manifest. And I cannot stress enough, when I ran across the demonstration in reference to being encrusted, you know, because we were so entrenched in the passions and desires, now we have manifested this form where you are locked bound behind your own mindset. So when you gave that question and you kept reiterating it, are you hung up on the time or the event? Time never was when man was not. And when you gave the definition of time being, it's a measurement, you know, and when we are able to travel back beyond the time, we're going back to our original source of divinity. So making it plain when you were speaking about getting the lessons, going back to recharge from your source of divinity, bringing the blessing back here, but not getting hung up and locked down on things at a manifest level where you got to now go how many ages before all of your lessons are learned, because you want to keep longing for this or keep okay, well, foof, here's the body being snatched, come back again, because you still have not learned the master lesson that you are not this body nor this soul. So this class is so key in reference to making clear what our mission is. And we're not speaking about being hard to compassion or family or what have you, but we have got to stay focused. That's why the prophet said, don't worry about how it is that you are going to be saved. You know, this has already been predestined. Again, coming out of chapter 1. And the last measure that I wanted to speak on was dealing with Tahuti, because I'm just getting into the pages in reference to the Emerald Tablet. And Tahuti the Atlantean, he spoke of men, he termed them as little men. Now, if that doesn't speak about how small-minded ones have become, you know, because Atlantis, we're dealing with being very conscious of who you were as gods. But in order to save the teachings, he gave it to a few. They were dispersed upon the earth. But when he spoke about even the ones in Kemet, in reference to quote unquote little men, dealing with that mindset and that thought pattern, being on that bestial level until they had to receive the teachings, and the teachings being passed to Asar. The same thing our prophet has brought to us is on us, whether or not, that's why he kept saying, you either going to take it and save yourself, or let it stay there, collect dust, and you be, in essence, damned back again to that recycle of birth and death. So this is just a beautiful and very high level. And I just, you know, pray that our Moorish can see, and again, we cannot come up in who's on the call, who's not on the call, etc. The thing is, are you doing the work Allah called for you to do? And let Allah do the rest, because he's bringing it, you know. So for that demonstration,
and Islamism Grand National Secretary of the State for that grand drawing. Very powerful measure, sister. And man, it don't get no plainer than that. You know, so we give honors to our Grand National Secretary of the State. We give honors to a whole tribe of endurance, because if they don't know how to measure time, you know, in regards to dealing with that and deal with the exact events of freeing the people, then y'all ain't seen nobody get on the aspect of dealing with the events. You know, so we give honors to our grand family, you know, royal family, for all that you do and will do, you know, along the way, aiding and assisting your people. So also we see that our national grand sheik, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael, is on the manifest. Islam Godhead,
It's being nowhere else. Angel.
Islam.
Islam. Once again, let us rise, give a lot of praise to his love thought and his industrious way. That we give the highest honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali for coming as he did, setting us all free. Honest to everything it is, was, never more to be. This has been a grand journey, Angel, and I kind of liken into the element of the thought, before the thought, and you broke it down how this universal say cosmos bring forth the thought aspect that if one thinks a thing, then this opposite is right there with it. But at the same time, it doesn't stand say like fast within itself. It moves on, and you thinking that you're looking at it, but it was like there for a second and moves into infinity and draws from itself the angels that produce it in the sphere that it's in. I liken that to being in the mind state of having the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but at the same time, not getting a full grasp of it. This is why we got to keep coming back and grasping over it again to make sure, because carnal knowledge is but a finite way of looking at things. Because if you go beyond the years of the soul, is where that infinite demonstration becomes infinite. And how man in that infinite stage creates everything he is, was, there, more to be. This is what we call the light. I call it the light mode. And the light mode is one who is always at the door, but when they get there, there's distractions that take him away from it. And I think you talked about that a minute, especially the one was demonstrating in the science of the numbers, the seven times seven, and so forth, so on, until it still goes right back to the original seven. But man not knowing that he is a part of that seven. That, matter of fact, no, let me correct that. He's not a part of that seven. He is the seven. He is the circle seven. And everything that man rotates in, he rotates in that circle. And in that circle, it said the inner and the outer of the seven. And so when you get to add and bringing forth different vibrations of that seven, you see that everything is in this, how you call it, universal point of view. Because we all looking at it, you covered this in the last portion, we all looking at it from a universal perspective. And some people can see it and some people can't. But at the same time, that don't mean because they can't see it that they don't have it. It's just probably too crisp for one to see. But if one opened up the inner thought pattern, he can see everything that he ever was, is, and ever going to be. And I like the way you brought that, because we're moving fast, but yet we still standing in one spot. Islam, bro.
Islamism. We give honors to you, Sheik, for that grand drawing. It don't get no plainer than that. Yes, sir. And that's just a grand drawing, Moors. I have a measure before we go to our family. And this is actually dealing with a drawing from the Egyptian cosmology by our brother Mustafa Gadala. He speaks on what is called the Cycleo 7. And this is chapter 11, the Cycleo 7. He said the universe is constructed in accordance with the nature of numbers. The number 7 is the first complete number because 7 combines in itself the meanings of all the preceding numbers. And we demonstrated that in the chart that we created. It says, for all the numbers are even or odd. 2 is the first even number, and 4 is the second. 3 is the first odd number, and 5 is the second. If the first odd number is added to the second even number, or the first even number is added to the second odd number, the sum is 7. So if you add 2, the first even number, to 5, the second odd number, the sum is 7. Similarly, if you add 3, which is the first odd number, to 4, which is the second even number, the sum is 7. And if 1, which is the source of all number, is taken with 6, which is a perfect number, the sum is 7. And we demonstrated that to our Moorish king, which is a complete number. This is their table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a special property of 7, which no other number before 7 possesses. The numbers 7, 9, 12, and 28 are the first numbers that are called complete. And you actually seen all of these numbers in the math that we brought forth manifest in our science in that chart we showed the Moors. It says the numbers 7, 9, 12, and 28 are the first numbers that are called complete Camille, odd, square, exceed, and perfect respectively. Also, the cause of exclusivity for those numbers comes on the one hand from the fact that 7 equals 3 plus 4, 12 equals 3 times 4, and 28 equals 7 times 4. And on the other hand, 7 plus 12 plus 9 equals 28, which we demonstrated. The mystical function of the number 7 in ancient Egypt is signified as the unity of spirit, 3, and matter, 4. So we know the 3 deal with the triune law, wills and will and love, united with the 4, which deal with the elements. That's what it's referring to. That's why I speak of a line of divinity uniting the matter. It says one of the forms that traditionally expresses the meaning of 7 is the pyramid, which combines the square base symbolizing the 4 elements and the triangular side symbolizes the 3 modes of the spirit. This is the same too more said for the Sphinx, because if you know that the Sphinx consists of, as we spoke of, those different portions in creation, but the head of man governed, the Sphinx is known in its totality as Hu, which is HU, right? That's what governs. Now look at the 4 elements and place the ethers above the elements, because ether unite elements, right? Then you got 5. That's the 5-pointed star all day. But it states esoterically, and we're getting ready to open up, because all numbers are to be regarded as divisions of unity, the mathematical relationship a number bears to unity is a key to its nature. Both 3 and 7 are perpetual motion numbers divided into unity. They divide infinity. 7 is the number of process, growth, and underlying cyclical aspects of the universe. Osiris represents the same exact principles as such, and he is associated with the number 7 and its multiples. 7 of something frequently makes a complete set. The 7 days of a week, the 7 colors of the spectrum, the 7 notes of the music scale. The cells of the human body are totally renewed every 7 years. The intimate relationship between Osiris and 7 is reflected in these few examples from the Temple of Osiris in Abydos. Number 1, it is the only temple that has 7 chapels. Number 2, there are 7 spirits forms of Osiris or Osar. Number 3, there are 7 boats of Osiris or Osar. See, all this dealing with the 7 eyes and the 7 souls, the 7 eyes of Allah. That's powerful. Number 4, 42 times, well, 42 is 7 times 6 is the number of assessors or jurors on Judgment Day where Osiris presides. 42. 7 times 6 is the number of the steps leading to this temple. The Chet pillar is the sacred symbol of Osiris, has 7 steps. This is reminiscent of the doctrine of the chakras in Indian Kundalini system of yoga, which is much younger than the ancient Egyptian traditions. The chakras are centers in the psychophysical structure of man that accord with the 7 constituents of man, along with the link that draws them together, namely the human backbone. The 7 centers, the Jed pillar, represents the 7 metaphorical rungs of the ladder leading from matter to spirit. Since man is a microcosm of the cosmic pattern, Tet represents microcosm of the universal cosmology. It is hard to separate the number 7 from Osiris. The principle that makes life come from the apparent death is called Osiris, which symbolizes the power of renewal. Osiris represents the process of growth and underlying cyclical aspects of the universe. And therefore he was also identified with the spirits, energies of grain, trees, animals, reptiles, birds, etc., because all of them have cycles. The most impressive representation of the concept of regeneration, namely Osiris, is the illustration depicting Osiris with 28 stalks of wheat growing out of his coffin. It is also interesting to note that Osiris's life or his ring, according to the symbolic Egyptian martyr story, lasted 28, which is 7 times 4 years. And this is where we close at. Osiris's cyclical nature made him relate to the number 7 and its multiples. Very often we find that the 7 or multiples of 7 are needed to account for the principle and sequence of growth. Throughout the entire world, menstruation appears to be connected with the moon. The courses of the moon being likened to the courses of a woman. The moon is thus the appropriate symbol of fertility. As he waxes and wanes, he is regarded as a dying and resurrecting cycle. And I'm pretty sure he meant she. The symbol of death and rebirth of the crops. Menstruation in woman, or the woman on which all of human life depends, occurs in a cycle of 28, which is 7 times 4 days. Osiris is identified with the moon. As explained earlier, Osiris died analogous to the moon's departure and was resurrected the 3rd day after that. The 3rd day is the beginning of a new moon, a renewed Osiris, and this is reminiscent of the Easter celebration. Like Osiris, the biblical Jesus died, as they claim, on Friday and was resurrected on the 3rd day and Sunday as a new life. And they're showing that basically they got all this stuff from Kemet. So this 7 is very powerful, Moorish King. Very powerful. We give honors to the brother drawing because it's right all up in the book of fire. You know, it's like them books like run hand in hand, like a comedian commentary almost, so to speak. So gratitude, Moors. And at this time, we were actually called forth, since it's the Baltimore consulate, we'll call forth our beloved brother Malik, Imhotep El Bey, grand man, and let him come forth. Islam, and you can call on all of our brethren, because I don't know who all is present and who ain't, grand man. Islam.
Islam. Can you hear me, Sister Grand Sheik?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Islam. First and foremost, I rise and give praise to Almighty God, Allah, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I give honor to our illustrious prophet, our love thought, our angel, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. Give honor to our theocratic government of Moorish America, our grand national seal, emblem, flag, our divine constitution and bylaws. Give honor to our royal council of Moorish America. Give honor to all of our officials of Moorish America, our divine ministers, swift angels, and citizens and give honor to this this special class we have here, our Egyptian ADEPT research class, preparing us so we can be diligent and be about our Father's work. It's such an honor to be here amongst the wise, because the prophet instruct us to communicate to the wise for their own improvement, and then communicate to the ignorant for their instructions. And such an honor to hear you, grand man, give you honor for the breakdown, the way you laid it out, so simple, and the script, you know, in a way where a baby can understand it, because, you know, Allah is the one who gives the gifts of the understanding. And as a result of this, I was able to see the one creative process. The one creative process that the universe was brought into form, and the same way that the universe, one creative process that the universe was brought into form, man's universe is brought into form in the same measure, you know. And because, you know, this oneness of God, or this oneness of man and God is not something that's hypothetical. It is actual, you know. And man derives its strength from that unified consciousness with the infinite one, the almighty, eternal, incomprehensible. And this is how his power, consciousness, gives that oneness of power. So based on your connection, like, it's like and being an electrician, I'm not an electrician, but given this scenario where based on the units or the watts given out as an output, is to turn on the connection, and the connection of the wire through the wiring to the source where the electricity is brought forth. Because the piece that bring forth all of that power, that little tiny wire in the light bulb, that little tiny that little tiny wire in the light bulb is like man's mind. So based on your connection with your Father God Allah, and understanding that one creative process, that you create your universe, the microcosm, the same way that the microcosm was brought into form. That's the power that you exert. So the prophet is right in line with our lesson. You know, what is the signs of the Moors? You know, it's a power that exerts itself at the will of its user, when it's, you know, when the Moor is fully conscious of himself. So this is a grand measure, Sister Grand Sheik, for because we spoke a little earlier about this. You know, when we get the pen in our hand, we write our own story. You know, we bring clarification to our people so we can help free them up, because they lost in the Western thought pattern, that demarcated thought pattern that they've been conditioned to believe. And this is how they see themselves. They see themselves as things other than being a part of Allah. And this is why it's so hard for our people to come together and unify, because in unified, you and I, Ty, you know, we come together through our strength, our understanding of being connected to the oneness. And this is such a grand measure, grand man. I was sitting over here, I was like, wow, you know, this measure is so powerful, man. And man, I could go on and on and on about, you know, about this, but the wisdom has been displayed. You know, the wisdom, what is wisdom? Is the consciousness of you and Allah being one. But every soul must profess for themselves. You know, every soul is accountable for his own actions. And I was talking about declaration, proclamation of status of jurisdiction. It's in everything. It's right in this, in what you broke down and explained. The declaration and proclamation of status of jurisdiction. You know, your true self. Everything is right here. You know, so all praises be to Almighty God, Allah, and honor to our holy prophet. So at this time, I want to call for Vice Counsel General of the Maryland Council, Dr. Sheikh Eric Ashby Bey. Islam.
Islam and gratitude for that measure, General. We do have our National Grand Secretary of Moorish America on the panel. Can she go before me, National Assistant Grand Sheikh? Islam. Dr. Asset.
Islam. Islam, can you hear
Pardon
me?
myself, sister. I said, pardon me, sister.
All is well. Praise Allah. First, let me rise and give our praises to Allah and our honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to our Moorish American government, our officials of our government, and our citizens. Honors to our Consulate of Maryland for bringing forward this grand demonstration, our research class. Honors to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shadu Meti Al-Muhajir Shefsullah, for teaching us how to be ourselves, our ancient Moorish self, according to our forefathers' divine creed. I didn't take too long, but based on the demonstration that I heard and the lesson that I heard brought forward, we're dealing with a thought activity, and in ayat 17 of chapter 22, the meeting of the 7 sages to make laws for the coming ages for the nations of the earth, it says all things are taught activity. Subhanallah, all things are taught, and all life is taught activity. The multitudes of beings are but phases of the one great taught made manifest. Lo, Allah is taught, and taught is Allah. And we know that our prophet taught us, if I start you to thinking, you'll save yourselves. And by us doing our best to learn these lessons, to unfold and to build our character, we're doing our part in being ourselves and uplifting our nation in order to be able to teach our people who they are, in order to be able to love instead of hate, in order to be able to go into these ancient Comedian lessons that you're bringing forward. And it's what you call, one has to change the way they think in order to absorb all this information. And so that's why some of our people tend to shy away, because it's too much for them, because they've been taught to think, or should I say they've been taught not to think on anything further than food, shelter, and clothing. So if they can't think outside that box, and we deal with circles, so we constantly ascending because our circle is never ending. And so Allah is our focus, our prophet is our salvation, and we ourselves have to save ourselves with these lessons. So gratitude for calling me forth. Much peace and love for all of the Moors online. Islamism.
Islam, brother Ashby Bey.
Islam. First, I want to rise and praise Almighty God Allah. I want to give honor to our holy prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honor to our Moorish American theocratic government. I want to give honor to our divine constitution of Moorish America. I want to give honor to Act 1 of said constitution. I want to give honor to our Royal Council, give honors to our officials of Moorish America, giving honors to our citizens of Moorish America, giving honors to our babies of Moorish America, our young gods and goddesses, giving honor to today's research class, giving honors where honors are due, giving honors to each and every one of you. This is a grand topic here, National Assistant Grand Sheikh, just dealing with the, the circle, the 7, it's everywhere in creation. You know, if we think about, you know, our head, you know, we got one mouth, two nostrils, two eyes, and two ears. That's seven. You know, it's seven is everywhere in creation. Circles are everywhere in creation. If you drop water from a distance up above, it falls in a circle. You know, if a snowflake, if you look at it under a microscope, you can draw a circle around it, you know, at all of its points, you know, no matter what shape it is. And they say that no two snowflakes are the same in shape, but all of them you can put a circle around, you know. So it's just you look at the cycles in nature, you know, the tides, they move in a circle, you know, the planets, they move in a circle, all these things. We move in circles. You look at the tree, you know, and if you take a cross section of the tree, that's round. You know, it's not, the tree doesn't grow square, it grows round, you know. So just a grand measure, and I'm looking forward to pulling up some research on it, but I did find something on in this hidden wisdom in the Holy Bible by Godfrey Hodson. And it is, it says, the 14th day, Islam. No, I want to come from the Hermetica. Islam, the Hermetica, the lost wisdom of the pharaohs. It says the cycle of time. It says, in a sense, the cosmos is changeless because its motions are determined by unalterable laws, which cause it to revolve eternally without beginning and end. Its parts manifest, disappear, and are created anew, again and again, in the undulating pulse of time. Through the process of time, life within the cosmos is regulated and maintained. Time renews all things in the cosmos by the circling process of change, measured by the heavenly bodies returning to their former positions, so they revolve around the heavens. The present issues from the past, and the future from the present. Everything is made one by this continuity. Time is like a circle where all the points are so linked that you cannot say when it begins or it ends. For all points both precede and follow one another forever. Yet there is an even deeper understanding. The past has departed and no longer is. The future has not arrived and is yet to be. Even the present does not last. So how can it be said to exist when it doesn't stay still for a moment? So just a measure there from the Hermetica, just talking about that cycle, you know, always changing, no end, no beginning, you know, and that is the process of the universe. That's the process of man, always perfecting himself. Islam.
And Islam, grand man, for that grand drawing. That's powerful, brother. And yeah, cycles is in everything, you know, and even down to dealing with what we call mitosis. in the cells. A
Mhm.
lot of people don't know it, but yeah, that's a cyclical process. And if you pay attention, when you're dealing with mitosis, by the time the spermatozoa goes through its stages of development, right behind the neck portion of the head, where the mitochondria is located, I like to call it the mitochondria. That's where you find the driving force, you see, being present. You know, we can call it holy breath of spirit, intelligence that's present, that direct that particular measures. That's powerful, brother. We give honors to you. And it looked just like the Wajet, you know, the serpent with the wings from ancient Kemet, which is also synonymous with Kundalini. Powerful.
Yeah.
That's the 7. That's
Islam.
God and man. Islam.
We
Powerful measure,
Islam. We have Minister Musa, Minister Freeman L, and Student Minister Gael. I'm gonna ask them more to be brief because of the time. Islam.
Islamism. Already risen and giving praise to Almighty God Allah. I am Saray Arihu Musa, Pretabulu Bay, Deputy Counsel General for the Maryland Council. Grand Class, Swift Angel number 4, indeed. The 7 is a universal theme. It is all a part of the universal consciousness. We get right to the questions. It says, what is Elohim sometimes called? 7 hours of Allah. How many days are there in the circle? 7 days. How many days are there in creation? 7 days. According to science, how many days are there in a year? 7 days. Also wanted to go back to who is Elohim? Elohim is the 7 creative spirits that created everything that ever was, ever is, and ever more to be. My first part of the research comes from dealing with the Piscean record from a study called the Bible Study. It says number 7 is considered to be the number of spiritual perfection because it is a symbol of God's work. As we've already said, this is a symbol of the perfect world, completeness in heaven. The significance of the number 7 is important even today. We can recognize this holy number in all aspects of our lives. From there, I got information from Dr. Kwame Nantambu of Kent State University. He states that under philosophical and spiritual teachings and belief systems of ancient Kemet, numbers played a significant role. This is contrary to the sometimes derogatory, negative, ahistorical, and Eurocentric interpretation that are given today. For example, in ancient Kemet, the number 7 represented completion. Thus, the Euro-Christian Holy Bible says that Almighty God rested on the 7th day after the completion of creation. The 7th day of the week, Sunday, is now regarded as a day of rest from servile work. It says, let us also recall that in ancient Kemet, sun, S-O-N, was synonymous with sun, S-U-N. So this AD, Euro-Christian religious belief. Let me look a little bit. This Euro-Christian religious beliefs concept of the Son of God is nothing but a derivative of the original African Kemetic spiritual belief system. In ancient Kemet, there were also 7 cardinal principles and virtues of goddess, Ma'at, to achieve human perfectibility. These principles are truth, justice, balance, order, compassion, harmony, and reciprocity. So this ties into our Moorish studies of the Temple of Perfected Man, the Circle 7 representing that. In a nutshell, you can't get away from this number 7 because this 7 is perfect comes from our Creator, the Almighty God, and resembles us getting our deific will in line with the great God of Allah, Islam.
Islamism to that measure, brother. Islam. All right. I think our brother Terrell Freeman L and our brother Yael, I think they may be there.
Islamism, God, man. Gratitude. I am Terrell Freeman L, Maryland Consulate. First, praise and honor is already given, but again, I rise to give praise to the great God, Allah, Father of the universe, and highest honors to his prophet, our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Sharif Abdul Ali, and high honors to our Moorish American theocratic government, our officials, our citizens, and everything that is Moorish, Islam. Honors to Grand for, bringing us another grand session of Jews and studies.
Breaking up real bad, Mo.
Science, Allah, the science of us.
You breaking up real bad, Freeman L.
Okay, Islam.
Islam. You go ahead, Gaia.
Islam, student minister Charles Guy L. from the Maryland Consulate of Baltimore. Again, I rise and give him perfect praise to our Father God Allah, honors to our holy and illustrious prophet El Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. And when you were speaking about descending, ascending, and descending, I come upon this drawing in this book that I mentioned to the Moors, Bible Myths and Their Parallels in Other Religions, and it speaks about the doctrine of metempsychosis. And basically it's defining that as one reincarnating into another physical body, or the transition of the soul after death into another body. And we're trying to supersede that and maintain a oneness with the great God, and also have the self-determination and the will to manifest at will and cross the borderline, and to be angels and return lessons to the manifest. And also I wanted to just give a brief reading out of something I was just looking at. Try to be fast. And it speaks about, this is in reference to the seven. Just give me a second. All right, Islam, and it speaks about it says it is possible, and I want to give the Moorish kin a drawing on this, the reference. This is called I found this is called the secret doctrine of Onawak. And it appears to be a little strangely mixed, but I'm doing my best to discern and decipher through it still. But it says it is possible to create the gold of the spirit or regenerate it only by annihilating those fools, simpletons, or psychological aggregates that personify our defects. The Blessed One at times cried or sang. He worked with the infinite patience in the forge of the Cyclops. And it says he cried for a long time, and profound sighs came from his chest. He stared at the shaded mountain, the mountain of resurrection, and there he went. He performed prodigies everywhere he went and left amazing signs on his path, just as the great Kabir Yahushua did in his holy land. When he reached the shore, he started an assemblage of snakes. He had achieved the full development of the 7 degrees of power. And once he finished, he sat on it and used it as his boat. So, so that kind of takes me back to that demonstration where the 2 that held and the 5 that fell, where we seen the depiction of the one laying horizontal, symbolic to me as in a dead state. And, we have horizontal and perpendicular or upright. in which the one would be standing in that position and operating or on the seas of the bark of Ra, upright. And also just one more brief reading from the same demonstration, and it says, "It is said that he then looked at himself in the waters as in a mirror, the mirror of alchemy. His face was beautiful again. He returned to lost paradise. He then put on the most beautiful clothes, and having lit a fire, he threw himself into it. The sexual fire completely annihilating his psychological eye. Not even the ashes remained. Precious feathered birds, the birds of the spirit, came to see him burning. The red pole, the turquoise colored bird, the sunflower bird, the blue red bird, the gold yellow bird, and 1,000 other precious birds. When the fire stopped burning, he completed the great work. His heart rose and reached heaven. There he became a star. That star is the star of dawn and of dusk. He had previously descended to the kingdom of dead, and having been there for 7 days, he became a star." And with that, I just like to say I come in love and I leave in peace. And I hope the Moors get a drawing off of that. Islam.
Islamism, that's a powerful measure, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Islamism, no truth contradicts another truth. And that's when you get to lofty teachings. Only in man's base interpretation where you see the conflict. Islam. All right, honest to the Baltimore Consulate. We're gonna keep it rolling. We're gonna call forth our beloved brother, Tory Simpson Bay. Islam.
Islam. Dr. Tory Simpson Bay, Moorish American Consulate, Georgia Territory. Let us rise and give praise to our Father God Allah, honors to our Prophet, and honors to our Moorish American government, honors to our Baltimore Consulate for hosting this class. We definitely want to give honors to our Grand National Flag, emblem and shield, Islam. What grand man, definitely, when we talk about the Elohim, just say concerning question 99, the question is, what is Elohim sometimes called? And the 7 eyes of Allah. Well, definitely these eyes have to be housed, so to speak, Islam. So we can say that the Elohim, is the builders of form. And, so when I think about the Elohim, I think about, you might want to say Mecca. When we look up Mecca or Makkah, it's a birthplace of Islam. Of course, it's a physical manifestation built by man, but we too are Makkah, because we represent that Kaaba. I will say the square and the circle, which governs, with the square circumscribed in the circle. So, and we deal about the elements, that we was also composed of as well. And also, when you were speaking, another word came to mind that those that's actually synonymous with Mecca, being that, of course, the sacred ritual is to circumscribe, the Kaaba. We talk about Heru, and also a word that's synonymous to Heru is also horizon. And horizon, you have to also, we're talking about the breadth, which is also the width, the dimensions of who we are, and also the province of Allah. So, and this is, when we talk about the province of Allah, we're speaking about ourselves, and we're definitely talking about Elohim, because Elohim is cognate to Allah. Arm, leg, arm, head. Islam. Peace and love, mighty Moors.
Islam and peace and love for that brief measure, brother Simpson Bay. We give honors to your grand man for all that you do. Islamism, that's right, that Kaaba. Yes, sir. All right. Uniting of the spirit, making that soul move accordingly. All right, well, let us call forth at this particular time our brother Jerry Hamid Muhammad Bey. I see his hand up over there. Islam, brother.
Islamism. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, my brother.
This wall
I'm glad you-
Oh my gosh.
My sister Saeed, Anati Nuhet Harube, your line is open. All right, go ahead, Brother Muhammad Bey.
Islam gratitude, grand man, and praise and honors previously given and honors to this grand class. It was a few things, brother, dealing with the circle 7, but mainly just, some of the things that you covered. I was thinking about, when it talks about this circumnavigation of the earth, and I really, for some reason, I went into that word about the circumnavigation, but we know the first part of that word is dealing with the circle. It's dealing with the circle, making a complete circle around the earth, but it's not just dealing with the physical aspect of the circumnavigation of the physical, but it's also dealing with the circumnavigation, completing the circle of the mastery of self in reference to our ancestors. That's the completion. That's dealing with 7. I went into also, when you posted up the depiction of the 7 rays, dealing with the 5 that held, the two that held and the 5 that fell. When you go back to that depiction, you find that you got the 5, you got the 2, and then if you look down, you have also another 5, right? In other words, what you have is you have the 7, right, which is coming to the 5, right? The 5 and the 2 makes the 7. That's the 2 that held and the 5 that fell. But now when you look down at the bottom, you have 9 bars. You look at the sarcophagus. Oh man.
Islam, we lost the brother.
I think he fell. He's on. I see him on there, but I think his connection is bad.
Yeah, I think they was using one connection trying to do like how Act 1 do. Yeah, but well, Islam, we'll get our brother in a second. If he come back on here, I know he'll be back. And so at this particular time, what we'll do, we'll call forth our beloved brother, Bartholomew Thomas Bey.
Islam, sir.
Islam, grand man.
Praise Allah. First of all, I rise, giving all praise to my Father, God Allah. All of respect to my prophets, my government officials and citizens. Praise Allah, praise Allah, praise Allah for the Maryland consulate. And praise Allah, praise Allah. Well, sir, I got my first book, and I'm going to come out page 96, The Egyptian Cosmetology and Animated Universe. And it's going to read about the body. And it says, and I'm not going to read that part. I'm just going to go right into it. It says, thy head is that of Heru, or horse. Thy nose is Abu, and that's Abudus. The teeth is Supadu. Arms are happy, and thou are mooded, self. Thy legs are in Messi and Kabpasat Luf, and all thy members are twins of Adam. And then it says, my hair is none, my face is raw, my eyes are head to Heru, my ears are wet, my nose is she who presides over Horeth leaf. My lips are Habu. My molars are Shekhet. My inserts are Aset. My arms are Ram, the Lord of Mizes. My breast is Net. My back is Set. My palace is Asa. My belly and my spines are Sepnek. My buttocks are the eyes of Hu. My thighs and my calves are that of Nut. My feet are Papa. There is no member of my Devo or Neptune. And Jehudi is the protection of all my flesh. So, sir, this is something that I'm understanding as I read it, but I want to bring it forth because it was something that hit me that you spoke on, dealing with the body. Islam, sir.
Islam, brother Thomas Bay, we give honors to you, grand man. Gratitude for that mention. All right. Well, I don't see our brother Muhammad Bay on the mountain. Oh, there you go.
Islam,
okay.
Man.
Islam, I was looking for you.
Call drop. You know what I mean? I wasn't paying attention and it wasn't charged up. Islam. I ain't gonna be too much longer. So like I was saying, you know, when you put the depiction up of the two that held and the five that fell, it's 5 and 2, that's 7. But if you look down further, let me see. Yeah. If you look at this depiction and you drop down to the sarcophagus. If you look at the sarcophagus, you have 9 vertical lines up into the head. So when you do that math, it's really, really interesting. Because when you do that math, it comes out to be 21. So we know we're dealing with the first existence of the divine mind, which is also dealing again with the 7, because you're dealing with the completion of a cycle and an event. He talked about Allah in the Grand Quran, how Allah said that he comprehended the design. And I thought about that, you know, that particular attribute is being al-Musawwir, he who fashions and designs, which means we still dealing with the 7, because the 7 is dealing with, you talked about the 7 universal laws and principles dealing with mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarities, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. So as you know, you and I talked before, the same process when we go into Act 2 of our divine constitution, where it's talking about, you know, that the first man was formed in flesh, you have those 7 principles. And then when you go into the second part of Act 2, where it says, and on a Friday, we still talking about the event when you talked about the 7 days in a circle, the 7 days in a week, the 7 days in a year. When the man departed out of flesh, again, he has to go back to those same 7 principles, but it reverses itself. In the descending, right, being that we understand that everything began with a thought to come into the plane of things made manifest, in our ascending out of the flesh, we have to reverse the process. Again, everything, right, begins with a thought. So thought becomes the first principle by which we, you understand, ascend back to our Father, God, Allah. And as we know, right, when you put that 7 coming down and that 7 going back up, that's 14. And that 14 represents, right, the uniting of the divine attributes of Asar. And it also represents the 1 and the 4, which is dealing with the first existence of all soul, the universal soul. So either way it goes, the 7 is very, very, it's the pivoting point, the very crucial point, the most important point in the math. Islam and gratitude. I just want to share that.
Islam and gratitude and honors for that measure, brother. That's powerful. You know, 777, 21. That's what I'm talking about. All up in there. All right, Islam. Well, all right. Let us call forth at this particular time our brother Bati Bey. Islam.
Islam. First, I'd like to rise to give all manner of praises to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, our Royal Council, our flag, seal, emblem, divine constitution, strip angels of T citizens alike. honors to you for this class and all the Moors that spoke before me. Well, I'm sitting over here, I'm sitting over here trying to grab a drawing about the 7. And you know, the questions that we got. What is Elohim sometimes called? How many days are in the circle? How many days are in the creation? And according to science, how many days are in a year? And I was going over the 7, which it always refers, for me, it goes back to the chakras. I don't know why always when I hear the 7 days. And if you think a day is a revolution, if you look up in this, I got this book right here. It's called The Sacred Path of Reiki. And it was talking about what a 7, it was talking about the wheels. And if we look at everything as a wheel that is turning, a day is a cycle, a year is a cycle. All these things, all your chakras lined up, spinning in the same direction is a cycle. You going from one point to another, building it up is a cycle. You know, if you miss one point of the cycle, you can truly hurt yourself. You can truly hurt others around you if you aren't paying attention to these creations. And each of them, if you really go into the in-depth meaning of what the 1 through 7, it goes into the animalistic state, which is your lowest chakra. And it builds up. It also corresponds with the tree of life. You know, building and going and all that. And that's what I was looking up next, was trying to find the tree of life, because there's this picture that I was going through in this book that really goes, the 7, you really have 13 chakras in your body. You got 2 in your hands, 2 in your knees, 2 in your feet, that they don't bring up, that they don't really teach about. But but that's just a little further about that. But that's the main thing that I always, every time I hear the 7, I always think about the chakra, because as the ancestors always refer to everything as being a part of them, I look at it as like that. So especially dealing with these numbers in the sequence, because numbers, there are no strange happening. Law governs all events. So if we're looking at the 7, look at how it ties into you, the creation, and in each creation cycle. And that's how you help to dominate those.
Well, I think we lost our brother again.
Get that rise.
Yeah, all is well. But Islam, and just giving honors to our brother on that measure right there. Often what you don't hear people talk about is the 360 nodes of the body known as pressure points. And they actually deal with the circle, especially, the Prince of Peace, dealing with some of the things that he studied with polarity therapy. A lot of that deal with being able to heal the body, heal oneself, acupuncture, acupressure, so that's still dealing with that cyclic circle, of the 7 at the end of the day. Coming by the way of the 9. So gratitude, Islamism. Well, all right, we're going to go to our sister, Diane Carter, because she biting at the bit over there. Islam.
Diane Carter, baby. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to everyone on this call. And I'm going to try to be brief. This is just a wonderful class. I kept cutting my camera off because I'm telling you, I was just jumping out my seat. I had to get up and get my little shout on, because God, man, you really did it again. And you're talking about this 7, and I'm not going to comment on that because you said so much. And but I want to give you honors, because my prophet said he was going to stop the European from thinking. And when you brought about that 1,000 years, how we was taught, one day is like 1,000 years, and with the Lord, and 1,000 years is like one day with the Lord. When you brought that measure on, I realized in my own self that I needed to get rid of that, because I think that was still, I even mentioned that one day last week about one day is like 1,000 years with the Lord. So the great God Allah is showing me I got to get that out of my psyche, and because none of that is true. And then the last thing I want to point out is I've also thought about my hair is curly, and that's that circle. And I thought about it's like an antenna going out into those ethers. And when you talk about that circle, I thought about that too. So, but due to time, that's all I'm gonna say. But gratitude, God, man, this is a wonderful class. As you can tell, I'm excited as always. And gratitude, God, man, for letting me share.
Islamism, Sister Carter Bay, with that grand drawing you brought on the manifest. Islamism, we give honors to you. Well, our brother Bati Bay, did you have the, were you almost done with your measure? You had something that you.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring up one more thing. In that book, you recommended that Egyptian, the Egyptian alphabet letters of creation cycle. If you look at it's chapter 14, where it talks about the ninth sphere, it said we have seen that that the seventh letter Z represents the visual, mental creation of the separated entities of the universe, like these separation outlines in a connected picture puzzle. So if you, that's just something that just a little bit to add to it, you know what I'm saying? Not spectacular though, but yeah. So that leaves a common piece.
Islam, peace and love. Yes, sir. Gratitude for that grand measure, brother. All right, we headed out, Moorish Ken, and we only got a few more here. We'll call our brother Sincere Beta. I see his hand is raised. Islam, brother.
Islam, can you hear me?
Islamism.
Islamism. Again, I rise, giving all praises to Allah and honors to the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hasharif Abdul Ali. Give honors to our Moorish American government, our officials, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and most especially our citizens. We start, we thinking about that Elohim, we think about the seven created spirits that created everything that ever was, is, or ever more to be. And our prophet, he made it simple for us. And that's what I love about us going into the demonstration about how many days are in creation, 7 days, how many days are in a circle, or cycle, 7 days, how many days are in a year, 7 days. The perfection of anything can be perfected in those 7 days. That's where the consistency come in. And through the European schooling, is taught that we are, they call us habitual, is what they refer to it. But we draw in our divine instructions, it say, a soldier never knows a foe without a soldier never knows a strength without a foe, and thought must be exercised to develop strength. And so we draw that it's in the event of the consistency, because if we go to the 5 folds, we find out the instability of man, the inconstancy, all of these things play a major role. However, they are in the 5 that fail. And when we raise ourselves into infinite wisdom, that's when we raise into intuition and telepathy, where there is no gender, there is no such thing, there is no negativity, there is nothing of the lower self. It is nothing but harmony, the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life, and they breathe forth justice, mercy, love, and right. Now, this is the core of light that each and every one of us we united on. You draw where we can see that light, we can see the consciousness of, man, I know why I'm holding on to this gospel plow. I know why I know my nationality. My people are not able to understand. This is all dealing with the 7, because when you deal with the first beginning of that first rung of sincerity, you have to sincerely be tired, sick and tired. How the grand, how Smith Angel #1 said, tired. You have to be tired of answering to the suggestions of the lower self, and that's falling victim into emotions, feelings, all of these things of the 5. That's why in this Moorish divine and national movement, we raise to infinite wisdom, where we are raised above those five, where we can laugh at the human calamities of life, and we don't have to endanger ourselves for fools, because we know that love is law, and the law is alive because the law is within us. And as we continue to love our Moorish kin, this 7 is extended. Each time you extend out your 5 to your brother, that 5 plus his 5, that's 10, right? Then you have the 5 limbs, that's 20. You see what I'm saying? That bring forth that 1. Where he say, if where there's 2 or more, we come as 3, 5, 7, and 9. It's where there's unity, there's strength at the end of the day. And so, although there are a lot of energy compositories on us, the 7 up down the spine are the most pertinent. Red, orange, yellow, green, they both give out radiant colors. Red, orange, yellow, from the spine on up, red, orange, yellow, blue, violet, and then of course you reach that ethereal plane where the white, then you eat that blue ether plane. See, even in this, you have still the 3, the 5, the 7, and the 9, because the 9 is after that 7. That 7, you reach the blue ether plane, and then you go into where you can meet with the sages. I just give praises to Allah, because as we unfold and we get each one's measure, we know without doubt or contradiction that we're able to trace ourselves back, and thus we know it's through the history and the reliance upon Allah that's within us that we may continue to love one another, and it's through that unity that 7 will continue. And I conclude with this: the most power, clarity, and authority that I could have got from our Prophet Noble Drew Ali was the divine constitution and bylaws, because it is that 7. The Prophet sits dead square into the 7. All right. Now, we're told in Moorish science that it was 5 to fail and 2 to withheld. Well, when you draw and you look at the Prophet in the middle of the Constitution, there's 2 bylaws that held. And when you go, it say, with us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality. We are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial, and know that they are not Negroes, Black people, colored folks, Ethiopian, because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era in time now, when all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained the prophet. This is the reason why Allah ordained Noble Drew Ali the prophet to redeem his people for the sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Right? That's Act 6, and then Act 7 come right back around to where it gives you the family. He gives the family structure. Then he gives the covenant, and we know that the covenant, the holy covenant, is we must honor our father and our mother, that their days be long upon the earth land which the Lord our God Allah has given thee, according to the 101s. So the prophet made it simple, and that's what we did. When you draw for Elohim, you deal with the protoplast, the plant, the beast, the protoplast, the plant, the earth, the beast, the man, cherubim, and cherubim. Now, even in that, you got wisdom, will, and love. Father, mother, son, Allah, Ali, and me, Allah, Ali, and we, or the triune, salvation, God, our unity. The prophet, all of the teachings that we have are a single expression of the manifestation of us, in our entirety, as a collective whole of a nation that's clean and pure. That we are that 7. Praise Allah, the Moorish American nation. Gratitude for allowing me to speak. Peace.
Islam for the measure, brother. Gratitude for the portion. Islam. All right, keeping it moving. I want to go to our beloved brother Marvin Eversbay. And if you will, Moorish kin, Be brief.
Islam, can you hear me?
Islam.
Oh, gratitude. Okay, I'll be brief. First of all, I rise, giving all praise to the great God Allah, giving highest honor to his prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Al-Sharif Abdul Ali. And I give honor to everything that's Moorish. Give honor to this class. Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class. Give honor to all that gave their message before me, and all that will give their message after me. And so I'll be brief. I know we started out with what is Elohim sometimes called the 7 eyes of Allah. How many days are in a circle? 7 days. How many days are in a creation? 7 days. According to science, how many days are in a year? 7 days. And so that 7 was pretty much the theme of the class, pretty much. And we spoke on how that 7, and when you go into the mathematics of it, you know what I mean? It all comes back to the 7. And so, I mean, we look at ourselves being the circle 7, because the prophet is the circle 7, and we follow the footsteps of the prophet, you know what I mean? And being created in the image and the likeness of the great God Allah, okay, we are the 7. We are the circle 7. So, and we know that our Friday is the completion, so that's that 7 again. So we all look at, that's what we're looking at. And I'm gonna just read briefly out of the Holy Quran, chapter 3, the unity of life, 14, where it states, Elihu's lessons. If you would ask me what to study, I would say yourselves, and you well have studied them, and then would ask me what to study next, I will reply yourselves. And 15, he who knows well his lower self knows the illusion of the world, knows the things that pass away. And he who knows his higher self knows Allah, knows well the things that cannot pass away. So, we know we are to keep that higher self, you know what I mean, in a completed state. And as we were talking about that circle, how we go to one creation, and then we go to another level of creation, in that cycle of time. And then we go into the cycle of the cyclic time, the 1,000 years. And so anyway, so this is where I'm at personally, maintaining that, forward movement to elevate oneself. Okay, and I was going to go into something from the seekers of the way, but I'll hold that for another time. Gratitude for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
Gratitude for the measure, Brother Elvis, baby. We give honors to you. Islamism. All right. All right. Our brother Kamaat Bey. Islam.
The more mic, yeah, he think he said he was on the road.
Okay, Heru
do I see them? Yeah, his vice counsel general is on the panel.
Okay, Islam. Okay, brother Heru Bey.
Islamism.
Islam.
I would like to first rise and give all praise to our Father God Allah, honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to the Moorish American government, and honors to this research class, you, Grand Man, for this grand demonstration that you have put forth on the manifest. It's been a true blessing, a key to unlocking the heart and the minds of the Moors and their heart. So we can represent Emmanuel manifest Islam. Islam, star 6 your phone, Moore. I think you got unmuted. I'm not sure who that Moore is. Please star 6 your or mute your phone. Islam. This was definitely a grand demonstration. So many measures. I just want to give my portion on what I got from the demonstration. Unlocking the 7 eyes of Allah within the self. Going through the numerology going through the 7 perfection of man and God, being yourself, and then coming through to the 9, that's coming through that full circle. For me, that just represents coming into yourself and being yourself, coming into a balance, a perfect balance within the self, to be yourself at all times. And when you understand how to master yourself and study yourself, then you are studying yourself from a more full perspective, from a holistic perspective, to where you have to bring the entire self into that balance. And that's what we're doing as Moorish Americans. We're going from the center to the outer bounds. And this is the grand demonstration that you have unlocked from the spirit to the outer, from the spirit, and you're bringing it here to the manifest for Moors to understand it. And this is the key, because all these secrets, these sacred jewels were hidden, and they were scattered. So we couldn't unlock the keys to ourselves, and now they're being unlocked here in these sacred groves. So I thank you and I honor this government, because there's nowhere that this has happened ever on the face of this earth. Islam and peace.
Islamism, grand man, we give honors to you as well for that drawing, brother. Ma Heruma El Bay, for your contribution. Islam. All right. Keeping it moving, we go forth to our brother Louis Potter Bay. Islam, are you there, grand man?
Islam.
Islam.
Gratitude. First, I want to rise, give praises to the great Father God Allah. I want to give honors to our illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honors to Act 1. I want to give honors to citizens. I want to give honors to our flag, our emblem, our symbol, and everything that's Moorish. Honors to you, grand man, for the magnanimous, always on point with it, teaching us the Egyptian ADEPT lessons, as we should learn. Now, what came to my mind, because there was a whole lot going on here, you talking about the 7, and I'm gonna start off first, brother. When you had did a demonstration, we was talking about vibrations, and when you was talking about how, like, at different megahertz of 7 and 8 and 6 and 9, all that stuff, the vibrations, they had the sand down and it would its shapes will form, right? And so what I did a little bit, I went and looked at some more videos and stuff like that, and I noticed that mostly everything was cylindrical. It was a circle in there. And it made me think about circle 7, the circle around our emblem, our symbol, our emblem, and that being that of completion along with 7. And then I noticed that the circle, the Ankh, and the Eye of Hero is some of the most universal used symbols in the world. Then it made me, I came across this, I'm pretty sure you have this too, because it's some information that I've seen some of the books that you got by him, by brother Mustafa Gadala, and that's the Egyptian hieroglyphic metaphysical language, where it's talking about the circle and the parts of, and I'm gonna make it brief. And it says a circle, portions and segments and variations thereof are found in many hieroglyphic symbols. Here we will deal with the metaphysical significance of the full circle, top circle, and the neb sign. A circle with a dot or a point in the center. The cosmic creative force ray is written as a circle with a dot or a point in the center. It is a circle moving in a circle. One in the solidarity. The circle symbolically represents the absolute and the undifferentiated unity. The circle, appropriately enough, is the universal archetype of creation. Now, the top half of the circle, the top half of the archetypal circle represents a physical manifestation of creation. Neb sign. Neb is an ancient Egyptian term meaning gold, traditionally the finished, perfected end product, the goal of the alchemist. You was mentioning talking about alchemy. Lord Master in all affirmations impure. The hieroglyph denoting Neb is the segment of a circle whose central angle is 140 degrees. Back on that 7. That ratio of the angle of the whole circle length of the arc to the whole circumference, 0.3889. There again, At number 38, we got 8 at infinity, and we got 9. The second power spiritually constitutes reaching to the higher level. Neb means exactly that. The ratio of 0.625 was used in the ancient Egyptian design as the ratio of 5, 8, and such numbers 5 and 8 are important numbers in the summation, the so-called Fibonacci series, as well as the Neb golden proportion. Thanks for allowing me to get my drawing. Peace and love.
Islam, and it's not strange, brother, if you spell Neb backwards, it becomes Ben, which is the Bennu bird that ascends. Powerful measure, Lord Islam. Okay, all right. Oh, well, we got our brother Asher Smith Bay on the manifest, and I think that's it. Oh, we see Sister Teresa Reed Bay. We'll get her first, and then Asher Smith, and we taking it out. What? Wait a minute. I've seen somebody hand up. Oh, that's Dr. Azariah Giza Maruti Bay. Islam. And we'll go to Teresa Reed Bay in a minute. Islam, you there, Sister Ashley? And it's the God man on the manifest, because I know he be working as well.
Islam family. Yes, he's on the manifest. Islam. First, I would like to rise in perfect praise of the great God Allah. I would like to extend honors to his prophet, our prophet, El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. I would like to extend honors to Act 1, our Moorish American government and its citizens alike, and honors to this grand research class today. I just kind of want to stick with the 7 as we were discussing, and in regards to the self and the goddess body, and also my call had kept dropping a little bit earlier, so pardon self if I happen to repeat some things that others may have said. I don't know, but so as in regard to the body, the goddess body, if it hasn't been under any interference with birth control or anything like that, when we get menstruals, our cycle, or is better, another term for the body is 7 days. Normally it's a 7-day cycle. And I just thought about that in regards to the self. And also, it's been said in times where anytime you want to create a goal or break a habit or something like that, it takes 21 days, which is 7, 3 times. And so, and then you will be able to create a new cycle or a new habit or a new way of life or what have you. That was the objective for the breaking of the habit or the cycle. So those are the couple of things that I thought about in regards to the 7 family, and gratitude for allowing me to speak. Islam.
Gratitude for that measure, sis. Islamism. That's a grand measure there. All right, the goddess body. And that's powerful when we deal with the 21, because that's the 21 gates. Islam. Brother Mubasa Bey. You there, brother?
Islam.
Islamism.
Islam. And we rise in perfect praise. Give all praise, honor, and glory to our Father God Allah. Our illustrious prophet, High Sharif Abdul Ali. Give honor to Act 1, our flag, multi core, and everything that is more. Islam family. In regards to our more depth of research class, when you was laying out the basis of it, of Islamism in regards to the 7 degrees, and then you went off into our 101s or 102s and was speaking about the Elohim, and the 7 creative spirits. I thought about, the 7 creative spirits also being aspects of different kingdoms, dealing with the sciences as far as the creation. How you had the protoplasm created, you had, what is it? The birds created all of these being sciences in itself, and I thought about how that also goes off into, I say, our consulate, as far as, us, going off into, different departments in the sciences and building to create peace, because of everything, being so chaotic, as far as building a government or a nation. But then I thought about also, I went off into the Essenes too, dealing with the angels, because I thought about you got, just like how you have the seven being created spirits, you also have 7 aspects dealing with the self. You got the physical, mental, emotional, social, cultural, and then the intuition and telepathy. Or you could say, your acting body as well as your feeling body. With those, dealing with the 7 in that aspect and dealing with the self, but also it going off into the aspect of building civilizations, building families, and we also have, with our 7 acts being the foundation of the building of the family with our divine constitution. But then when you go forth, as far as building the nation, that's when you go off into the postulate. But then taking it, going a step further, is that's when, the pooling of the talents and the resources come together, in functioning in the different departments that we've created, that we've always, been a part of, because this is the makeup of the self. So, Grand Man, I seen it in, probably 7 different angles, and it was all divine. So gratitude, because what it's doing is it's allowing the creativity to go forth in, how we say it? It's allowing creativity to go forth in correcting problems or issues that we see. So it gives one, thoughts, ideas, and stimulates. So gratitude for allowing me to share my message. Peace and love, family.
Gratitude for the measure, brother. Peace and love. Islamism. Well, all right, we see Sister Sayonara Nati Nuhet Heru Bay. She's on the manifest Islam, goddess and queen. She just raised her hand. Islam.
Gratitude, Grand Man, for giving me space on the floor to speak. I am Divine Minister Dr. Asai Natinu Heteru El, and I rise giving highest praises to our Father God Allah, and high honors to El Sharif Abdul Ali, honors to our Moorish American government, our theocratic Moorish American government, honors to Act 1, and all that is Moorish, and this also honors to this research team that we have right now. I would just like to camelback off of Dr. Bati Bey's measure, where he was coming out of the Egyptian alphabetical letters of the creation cycle. And he kind of expounded on the 7th letter, which is Z or Zain, and also known as the plan of separation. I just want to elaborate on that. It says, this spear letter represents the creation stage of the designs of the various species of being by first creating images which act as a mattress or a hold or womb, containers, funnels that direct the flow of the forces of nature. It says, in their work of organizing physical matter into objects. In other words, forming images of the total reality in order to create them. The 7th letter refers to the universe symbolized by the divine vision of the eyes. The ancient Egyptian papyrus, creative visualization, Islam, and the marvelous, splendid, magnificent creation of the Lord, Master of everything and everybody, who come alive in the divine eye of Adam, the eye of Ra. Islam is.
And Islamism, goddess, that's a powerful measure, because that plan of separation that deals with the divinity is going back to them 7 days of creation, where the spirit brings what you call a pilgrimage through the elements and so forth and so on. 7 creative spirits, and that's powerful. Through the eye of Ra, the 7 eyes are manifested under that property. Islam. Well, all right. I see our brother Jehudi Bey there Sister Teresa Bay and Asher Smith Bay, and that after Asher Smith Bay will close out. Islam, brother Aku Jahudi, Heru Jahudi Bay. Islam, are you there, grand man? I see you down there in the cut.
Islam. Islam. Can you hear me, grand man?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Gratitude. First, let me rise and give all praise to mighty God Allah. Give honors to a holy prophet El Haj Sharif Adu Ali. Give honors to a Moorish American government as officials, Act 1. Give honors to our flag, our seal, our emblem. Give honors to all Moorish Americans here and everywhere. Give honors to this class. And Grand Sheik, pardons on the tardiness, but when I came in, you were talking to let me see if I can pull it up. You were speaking on the 1,008 years, like where the European had the depiction of the eighth, where he had on the day 6, where he had himself and the swine. And I thought, imagery is everything, where they have created something of themselves for themselves. It's not for us, by us. It's like, I'm gonna be brief, grand man, because you went with so much knowledge, and I love every time I be in this class. That 7 is a powerful number. I'm doing a little research on it now. As you were speaking, I was printing off some stuff, especially about that vibration of that 7. But what I wanted to focus on, family, was when you was in the El Quran. I think it was Surah 2 and Ayat 29 and let's see, and you were reading them with the notes, 34 and 35, and I focus, Allah is my guide, and the focus was on the last sentence where it says, when there is no source of truth knowledge except God, and when that very light which alone can illuminate man's life can be obtained from none else but him, what good can come out of deviation from the truth? Islam. And that, grand man, I have a lot going on here in North Carolina, and truth is on the manifest, but there are those out here that are deviating from that truth and creating their own selfish self for self-gain. And so I take everything that you've given us today, grand man, and I incorporate it into self, to my truth, and I give honors to you, because this is high vibration, this is high knowledge that we all need, and I am a student still. I learn. I'm getting these books that you're putting forth, and our ministers are relaying some other literature also. So grand man, I love you. I love this Moorish American government. Ooh, I'm just, it's just like, I'm like Diane Carter Bay. I tell you, I'd be on fire sometimes. Oh my God, did I mute myself?
Oh no, we still hear you, God, man.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness, I tell you, these apparatuses, they have my head, man. Islam, but I love everything that you brought forth, grand man, Islam, and I will be getting into that number 7 more, and the the 7 eyes of Allah, in where that depiction with the 7 eyes of Allah and that square. You know how Moorish used to always say, I'm standing on my square, and I like the saying I'm standing in my circle because I know for a fact that it's perfect. Islam, grand man. Islam family, we love you. Islam, peace and love.
Islam, that's powerful, grand man, and we give honors to you for all that you do, brother. Very powerful. Islamism. And you ain't got to worry about the one running around in the Carolina acting crazy. See, they think the punishment is far off, but Allah says it's great and near. Islam. All right. Well, at this time, we'll call forth our sister Teresa Reed Bay and then go to Ashley Smith Bay, and we going out.
Islam.
Islam, Sister Teresa Reed Bay.
Islam. First, let me
Islam
rise praise to the great God Allah, give honors to our holy prophet, give honors to our divine emblem, seal, and flag, give honors to our royal council, give honors to you for this grand class that you brought forth on the floor. I don't have much, but that 7, I was I was taking to go to Revelation, and 7 we had 7 angels, 7 candlesticks, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 plagues, 7 golden bowls, 7 thunder, 7 horns, 7 eyes, 7 spirits of God, and a dragon with 7 heads. And then, you know, we also got 7 heaven and 7 hell. So I was just thinking that's got to be a perfect number. I know there's a lot of symbolism in this, and man, and I could have went on. I thought I saw a few more 7s, but it's significant that they use 7 so much in the Piscean record. It's supposed to be completion, I think. Yeah, 7 stands for completion. So we just I'm just amazed at that number. It's perfect number. And with that, I enjoyed the class, but that's what stuck out to me, that repetitive 7, the circle 7 to 7. Islam.
Islamism, sis, we give honors to you for that draw, and that's a powerful measure. And don't get no plainer than that. Islam. Right. Well, all right, brother. Golden Asher Smith Bay. Brother, Henry Ma'el Bay, your phone is unmuted, my brother. Yes, Swift Angel, Love Divine. Golden Asher Smith Bay.
Yes, Divine Family, all the time.
Long.
Yeah, Doctor number 156, the exhuman of a nation. We always rise all of the great God of love, great God of the universe. And to the 60 million plus that we always the circle 7, divine salvation, our God unity. And as I said, since you tell I that night, if you take some time go in the workshop of the mind, because there's a lot of work to be done. And as you said, we have to master the maths and the alphabet and all these things. That's why, it said when you go in the workshop, you said to go to these places where, going to go to the land of the dead and all these things, which, the more you study and the more you find, you're going to unfold, as the family said, like that caterpillar turn the butterfly. But, as I say, even within the name, as I said, the G is always 7 also. So that's why I say, so much to study, so much to learn. And as I say, we have to go in that workshop and, we're not going to put 2 bubble gum, we have to study to master the self to honor these ones. Because you see, at NBC, as you don't know, so these ones can't trace themselves back to nothing. Because the more I think about it, now it's making a lot of sense. Because you see, NBC don't have nothing to trace back to, because, they only have a little thing called, Black History Month and all these little things where these ones place upon that one, you know what I mean? And, as I said, all of thing, as I said, when you study it, now when you see it, it makes sense now because, them have a thing called black and black crime, which is the NBCE, because I say no other nation know no crime for themselves. That's why we say the more we study these lessons, see, you see the family out there, there's a whole lot of turmoil with confusion. Because, as you would always say, you go to them, they would all want to say, where's the government? What they doing for you and all these things? Because, you see, they want to see proof, they want this, they want that. That's why the family, as I said, these ones know what they're trying to always do. They try to keep us in confusion, keep the family in confusion. Because they ask, as I hear the family said, where is the mindset of us? That's to tell you what they might do to us. Because they don't know what game they're playing. That's why it said, when we wake up and so forth and so on, these ones have to take some water because too much confusion in their house. You know, don't want these ones to wake up. So that I say, you know, there are these lessons there that the family bring when we all come together, 60 million plus, you know, for the new and yet born coming, gonna be with the eyes wide open because there won't be no more, you know, coming from this, coming from that, and we hear there and everywhere with foolishness. Because, you know, we said, coming back with this divineness, like you said, we're putting back on the white. White means purity, purity means God. God means rule of the land. So that I said, divine family. I just say, we're going to drop it like it's at. Divine family, 60 million plus. One love. Like the family say, we're laughing where there was no song, and we're dancing where there was no music. Like you say, we have the movie and all this. So coming for the 60 million plus, where we can dance and sing because our eyes on the prophet now. Divine family, one love.
To go to National Smith Bay, we give honors to you, grand man, for that drawing. And as we close out at this particular time, we come forward with a brief reading to give, you know, more clarity as we go home, so to speak. And this is coming from Surah 70 in the Grand Quran. It's called the MOORISH, the Lord of the Ways of Ascent. It says, a questioner asks about the penalty to befall the unbelievers. Now think about the end time and fulfillment of prophecy, Moors. It say the unbelievers, which there is none to ward off. A penalty from God, the Lord of the ways of ascent, the angels in the spirit ascend unto him in a day, the measure whereof is as 50,000 years. Therefore, thou do hold patience and patience of beautiful contentment. They see the day indeed as a far off event, but we see it quite near. And in the commentary that was given here, it says the stairways of ascent, the word is used in a literal sense, silver stairways on which to go up. Here's a profound spiritual meaning. Can we reach up to God the Most High in his infinite grace? He gives that privilege to the angels and spiritual beings, man being such in his highest aspect. But the way is not easy, nor can it be travailed in a day. It states, Ruach, the spirit and the angels and the spirit. We have translated Ruach by inspiration. Some commentators understand the angel Jibril by the spirit. But I think more general meaning is possible and fits the context better.
On that chair by the window.
Sister, your line is unmuted. Okay, but I think more general meaning is possible and fits the context better. Man is gifted with the Spirit of God. In the spiritual kingdom, we are all raised to the light of the countenance of God, and his glory transforms us. But such glorious transformation is not to be attained without the highest spiritual exertion. If we measure time as we measure it on the plane of this life, it may take thousands of years. In the spiritual plane, it may just be one day or a moment. Islam, we love you, Moors. Peace and love.
Islam, Grand Class, National System Grand Sheet. January 15th, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We offer peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizens or group of citizens, any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings towards the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the Prophet is not right, the government is not right. The Prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their Prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Islam, a holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. We are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. That the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with our brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in our Father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity. Be friend out of stranger before thy own blood. If thy brothers in adversity, assist him. If thy sisters in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of our Father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, your love to each other. Islam.
Islam, Moors, grand class.
Great class.
Islamism, grand class, national
Grand class.
Thank you for your measures, Moors. Love you, Moors.